Out all night long, listen to your church bells too. Either somebody's needing mercy, something not done wrong. Children cry for mother, like mother to get you. Children cry for mother, I told the mother to get true. I walk on pins and knees, my tongue don't slip. But I can raise that passing speaker in case I might see you. But I gaze at passing strangers in case I might see you. The sun goes round the heaven, and all the dangers rise on through. Way out in the sun, I know you're with some other man. Way out in the distance, I know you're with some other man. That's alright, baby. You know I'll always understand. Away, hold me the eye. Don't let me go away. Hold me the eye. When my heart's just not in, as well pass right on by. My ears are ringing, and my tongue is my ears are ringing, my tongue is gonna be the doctor. But I walked all night long in the church bells too. But I walked all night long in the church bells too. Give us a heart to need mercy. say we got nothing in common. Common ground to start from, and we're falling apart. You say we got nothing in common. Common ground between us, but we're still falling apart. White line, life is no different. You said I think I remember the film. Yes, another one I think. What kind of light to live about something? Something big bad. Oh, I see what about breakfast at Tiffany. She said I sang. Remember the film. Yes, another one I think. What kind of light to live about something? Something big bad. Oh, something big bad. War was over and the spirit was broken. The hills were smoking as the wind was blowing. We stood on the cliffs, yeah, we watched ships slowly sinking to the rendezvous. Inside the trees and our homes were taken. Love was forsaken. Live one day. Try to raise a family. Yeah, the enemy. Oh, the war went down on the plains of Abraham. Taking driftwood, gypsy tail wind. They call my home, land of snow. They do the cold fire. What a way to ride, oh, what a way to go. my home, land of snow, in the cold fire. What a way to ride, oh, what a way to zero when the day became a threat. My clothes were wet and I was drenched to the bone. Then out I was fishing, too much repetition. It's a memory that is long. Sail out of the docks, heading for Sydney. Nothing to declare, only hand was gone. Down on the coast, wow, to go. I said, keep moving on. Driftwood, gypsy the children, they call my home the land of snow. The cold fire, what a way to ride, oh, what a way to go. Everlasting summer filled with ill content. The government has us walking in chains. This ain't my turf now, this ain't my season. One of the reasons to rain. Looked up at the ship of fields down in old days. They were at green, up until the fly. You can call it an old night, don't you wear your boy. Set my colors north, I got to do in my life. Taking driftwood, till when they call my home land of snow. In cold fire, what a way to ride, oh, what a way to go. Say, Jackatia, je te mal du pays. La nuit, Jackatia, et de larmes au soleil. Je ris, Jackatia, tilalong, tilalong, tilalong. Je ris, Jackatia, tilalong, tilalong, tilalong. Je ris, Jackatia, tilalong, tilalong, tilalong. Darn, it's the tune itself to me, not the other way around. What are you doing? Well, actually, the other way around, because, yeah, I'm adaptable. It isn't. So there's a few bum notes in there, which I heard, but I tried to cover them up with the woohoo at the end, which is a celebratory thing, isn't it? In the utmost. When you think of the song itself, it's so encoded. Like pretty much everything offered up to us on the radio stage is encoded. That's why I started the last song. First of all, I'll say hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? And welcome. Sorry for the little bit of delay. Just if you're listening to it in playback, Just fast forward, and if you've been here, well, hopefully you've had a little bit of a chat in the side chat. Who, let me just say before I say anything, Nora, how you doing? No one's flower. No one could ever pronounce your name. I got it straight away, Nora. It's a wonderful. I'm pretty sure that all of the Apocrypha, on all of the different texts covered, the Gnostic texts covered in the channel, Female Voice, I think it's called, is you. And I think you've confirmed that. That's even more wonderful again. It's so wonderful. And I'm not sure if no, I didn't play, I'm not sure if you read it, I didn't come across it anyway, the Secret Book of James. I played it a few times on my channel here, and I'll play it again. I'll be a minute to play it again to myself, especially because the last time, Nora, I wanted to stop at every few, segments, every few phrases. It's only 16 minutes long or something like that as well. But because more and more was clicking, ultimately, everything coming back to the divided state of us and the divided state of, well, the state we're living in, the country we're living in, Bell Earth. If you notice in the description, I added alongside my usual ARISTARCHUS. Very, very interesting. If we read properly, like children we must become, right? And if we read properly, something is being said to us in a different way. There's the power of words as well. But if you notice a peculiar addition, which is Bell Earth. So Bell Earth, you heard it here. I'm not sure if you heard it here first. There's nothing new under ARISTARCHUS, but yeah. The gist of the song called Acadian Driftwood by the band, who sort of made their name, I guess, with Bob Dylan. So there's an association made. And this is all theatrics as well. So like you go into a movie and you understand that, okay, you get engrossed in it, but you understand ultimately that, yeah, the big production team go above and beyond to give you this presentation. Right, so it's the same thing in all of the greater industries. You've been presented with a product, and well, for the most part, we have no reason not to buy it until, for the most part, again, in terms of popular wise, we got the internet. Now there's no bluffers anymore. There's no bluffers anymore because what's the capital of Timbuktu? I know that. Imagine that 20 years, 30 years ago. I know that it's Walla Walla. Oh, you seem so confident. Well, because I am. Do you want to bet? Oh, I don't think that's right, but do I want to bet? How are you going to find it? Well, look, I'll meet you here tomorrow. Put your 20 down. Do you know what I mean? Someone will back out then. No, okay, maybe it is. Maybe I got it wrong. I was thinking of a different capital nearby. None of that anymore. Just whip out your phone. What's that? You want to bet 20? Umbala Walla? No such thing, bud. Fuck off. Give me your 20. You know what I mean? So, it does away with the bluffers in that sense. And I'm trying not to do any bluffing anyway. Trying to do any bluffing, even though you'd probably consider me, in light of all of the shows that I've had to present, the biggest bluffer around. But I'm not. I'm not at all. Everything I've said has been in earnest. Absolutely everything I have to stand by. I'm bluffing or plomosing or playing games. Well, I'll let you know directly. Now, my sense of humor is very weird. Very weird. No, that's someone said to me how they love when I laugh at my own jokes. Well, over years of practice, years of living, yeah, I grow old waiting for others. So, you make it, you appreciate it. If I find it funny, I laugh at it, right? Who else? If you're waiting for someone else to do anything along these lines, well, then you haven't come to terms with yourself, I suppose, right? Anyway, yeah, Flat Earth Dude, how you doing, man? I'm not sure if I heard you. Anyway, Nora, brilliant, you're welcome. I'll put the link in chat for anyone who wants to chat in a bit. Great, the greatest puzzle ever to present to all of us tonight. It's not about numbers here. Anyone who's been with me long term, everything is recorded first of all. They know there's a greater puzzle in place, a greater sort of game, a greater sort of treasure hunt in play. It sort of spans history. It's a greater thread that sort of combines and unites everything, past, the future, and all the way to now, interconnecting with now. So it's that interconnection, and it's that greater story being told. Funny enough, look at this. Honest to God, The dodo bird. And what's above it? A star. Say the dodo didn't exist. So to cut it down in a, what do you call it? In a nutshell. I could be bounded in a nutshell and yet consider myself king of infinite space were it not for the bad dreams. I don't have bad dreams. I have great dreams. Great dreams. Bad dreams are sort of reflection on self in general. In general. And it's very strange when we think about thinking, or when we think about any of these more basic sort of considerations, these constituencies. This is what they are within our being. Well, it all becomes very in depth, but that's where we got to become like children. We know this stuff, not to mind, not to mind as well. Can't think our way through this stuff. When Pandora's box was opened, this is our brain being open to all of these different possibilities, all of these different thoughts that we process to ultimately define our reality, which is the now. All there ever is the right now. None of us here can deny it. Everything else is a matter of memory and thought on memory. That's all. Isn't it funny? Odin is represented with, I keep mentioning the same things, on one shoulder, and I should look it up. Thunen should be on the right shoulder, Thuninn, and Munin, Muninn, should be on the left shoulder. Left representing sinister, so we have sin, and right is dexterous. It's what's been said in the words, and ultimately it comes down to, as I mentioned before, how strange that we have two hemispheres to our brain, but yet when you add the hemisphere to the other hemisphere, you only get half a sphere. You only get a hemisphere. What's going on there? Yeah, surely if it's anything, it's a demi hemisphere, but it's not. And it's not an error. There's no errors. NASA didn't slip up. The ISS footage, the lads on the ISS, when they dropped the ball Earth and it fell to the ground, they didn't slip up. That wasn't intentional. Of course it was. How stupid are you not to think that there's a greater script being thrown out and anything that's obvious is made obvious? Um, anyway, that's the different puzzle that is going on. And some people might say, and I'm not saying this against anyone in particular, but women in general are from early time, they're geared to think, and I guess from a nature as well. Actually, it comes back to the sinister side and why Eve is painted as sort of the darker figure, the more instigating figure in terms of the expulsion from the Garden of Eden and the separation from the Tree of Life. Isn't that interesting? So we are separated from the Tree of Life, but the onus is placed on Eve. And there's a very good reason for that. It's not because you're a woman, you have a fanny. Excuse my language, right? What are you going to call it? No, actually, that's not Americans here. I'm just saying, actually, what does a fanny in America sort of means? I don't know. Well, you want to put your what do you call it around your fanny there? Yeah, no, we haven't it. Yeah, right. So what? He's talking like that to my boyfriend. Anyway, listen, actually, let me take a sip of this. If I did before, I've had a few. I was busking today, and my mother is out. She got the second injection, so she's looking great. My mother's looking great, but unfortunately, she thinks I'm crazier than ever. So all of her judgments are sort of, my point of view is formulated by my addiction. I'm a druggie addicted to cannabis. It's all cannabis. And of course, she's been hearing stuff on the radio as well, talking about how cannabis drives you psychotic. So just everything blended then, causes immediate friction. But I forgive her. Of course I do. I said to her, what if you find out that I was right? I wasn't the one who was tricking you here. What do you do? She couldn't answer. She couldn't answer because it's a heavy burden, isn't it? Isn't it a heavy burden? Imagine wronging somebody for years or formulating and judging them on the basis of some of the stuff they said. She even said it to me tonight. That judge you mentioned, crazy. I brought up a point, a paper written by a retired judge, which talked about the legal name and the relationship between the living man and the deceptions, ultimately a fraud, and the fraud has been exposed. But yeah, I brought it up, and it was in relation to my car going without tax and insurance. I still don't have it, no tax insurance. And I drove, what did I drive the other evening? 3 hours I drove down the country roads. And beautiful evening. And I noticed something. What's that bright? I haven't looked it up actually. What's that bright? So just something I noticed. You see the bright star in the sky, which is adjacent to the moon, the crescent moon. I also think I figured out that I had grasp on what was going on with the moon and all its different phases before. The moon will always express a full moon bulb, and that's for a reason. The moon is not a solid body, it's a reflection of solidity. More than that, it's a kaleidoscopic reflection of solidity, all seemingly disparate and separate craters are one crater. If you're going to say none of this stuff matters, well, I say well, 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 it's your story. It's your story, the never-ending story, and who. This is why we're lost all our lives. But this is ultimately what life is about. I asked him that today. What do you get when you take the F out of life? Lie, right? A lie. The lie is for a reason. For us to ultimately come to the truth, and everything given us, in a sense, is a facilitator. That's the way I look at it. All's well that ends well. And yeah, I heard it mentioned actually a couple of times now, because I was just listening to Nathan Oakley. So Nathan Oakley, 20,000 listeners, or not listeners, subscribers. And he's also on a, not to dwell on that, but he's also on a GoFundMe for, I don't know, a new car or something, new exhaust for his car, and I don't know, soundproofing for his studio. But yeah, I heard it on there. In British Parliament, theatre was mentioned in relation to space, and also Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about all the world's a stage. One of these different little clues. None of it's by chance. None of it's by chance, and each man plays his part. To understand that Nathan Oakley is playing his part and has been from the start, and the crew. When you think about this in a greater thing, if the Earth was flat, and it came out generally in the morning. And all flat earthers know the earth is flat. But unfortunately, well, they're especially not encouraged to go beyond that. When pressed for anything beyond that, they come up lacking, even in an opinion. Even in an opinion. It's not about proof anymore. Look at what science is said to have proven. You know, the Egyptian pyramids were built in this, in the last few hundreds of years. I'm not going to be specific. I'm not going to say, so I have my suspicions, but in the last few hundreds, they're not thousands of years old. They're not mentioned in the Bible because when the Bible was written, the pyramids weren't built. It's as simple as that. There's a greater story folded into all of this. And this is not an error. We were always meant to come by these clues, right, and put the pieces together. It leaves us with some pressing questions once we get beyond, Big Bangism, universalism, once we get heliocentrism, especially, this is the root. That's brilliant. This is the root of the issue. Is really when I talk about Bell Earth as well. We live on, to cut it short, we live on the stump of the tree of life that's cut. Right? If you drain all the water away, you have a stump, and then you have a plate. You might call it a plate between, right? And then you have the tree intact the other side. But this side is missing. There's a big, massive hollow at the center, so the root is sticking through the other side, and it's doing all the movement. It's in a giant whirlpool with the invading waters. That's the way I see it. Is the moon a reflection through these waters as this penis, this misplaced penis, which is the gong, the bell gong, right? Which is the bell gong. The bell body itself is the giant whirlpool at the center. So, lots of things connected. So all of the sky has been reflections ultimately of this singular source, which is Aristarchus, and the moon itself and the sun. They're direct reflections of one another. The influential factor here is the screen, the barrier that is the reflective screen. It's waters beyond. That's the only conclusion you can come to. It's saline waters beyond. Whatever's beyond that, it doesn't matter. I say it doesn't matter. There's a few possibilities. Who cut the tree? Maybe a bubble in a different area within the water universe. Or maybe it's all a construct. I prefer to think it's all a construct because we are greater than the material. But and we're venturing into this land of division, instigated by Eve. Eve is the lacking. Eve is the female, you see. The male is filled when you think about it. If you imagine, once again, back to back, your counterpart, and you meld the two together. The female has, in general, narrower shoulders and broader hips. One slots into the other. What is lacking in the female is filled in the male. When we sort of change and turn in the males, the testicles drop. This is where the tar, and the tar is in the very heart of Aristarchus. Aristarchus is the tree of life. It's Noel, it's Christmas, Xmas, it's Christ. This is the Christ birthed into division. And well, this is described on the moon, our nearest neighbors, and flat earthers, and well, by all accounts, our nearest neighbor and our most significant clue. None other than Aristarchus is described as the most mysterious creator on this most mysterious object in our universe. So a big clue for us again, and there's more puzzles to come, my friends. I have the best puzzle to present, and I'll be looking in chat. I've been going here for years now. This is the culmination of it. This is the culmination of it all, and maybe a communal effort to try and solve it. How about that? How about that? People like, I guess, Nora, maybe you will be left out because you certainly know more than what you let on being a part of the Mark Sargent and Potato Crew. Yeah, I know you won't take any offense at that. I love you, Nora. And I'm raging I didn't meet you that time. If I knew Mark Sargent was going to be in Dublin, yeah, I would have made an effort. But even outside of that, now that there's travel open again, my brother drives up to Dublin. I was only talking to my brother today for the first time in a while. He gave a big hug. And he was talking for a good while I was in Buskin. And his lovely dog, Brandy, of course. He'll remember Brandy from some of my shows. He's looking great as well. Some dog asshole actually turned out to be my cousin's dog, who I haven't seen him. Well, I actually saw recently. But yeah, it doesn't matter. His dog bit Brandy on the tail. And when I went to rub him in the back, he was riding up because he got a right nasty one. He never felt something like that before. I've seen Brandy, he's a fucking pit bull, but it's like anything else. If you've never fought, you don't know how to do it. If you've never been with a woman, you don't know how to do it, right? You learn as you go. Yeah, you're going to be outcompeted, right, by others. Doesn't mean you can't learn the ropes. That's what life is about, learning the ropes. Very good. So yeah, Acadian driftwood. See the way I can, and I know I lose a lot of people. That's why I try to keep it sort of succinct. But there's so many topics I could talk about that if I chose one, JFK for instance, if I chose that, and I chose how to connect it to Aristarchus as well, because it's ultimately Aristarchus. Kennedy in Irish is Ceann Éda, isn't that right? Ceann Éda. Which translates as head wound. And this is exactly what Kennedy was said to have expired via. Well, someplace I'm on the grassy knoll. I have to incorporate that into a song. Conspiracy. I'd write the best conspiracy song I really would like, and it'd be so cryptic as well. But at the same time, with fakery in mind, it would be perfectly clear as well. And well, there's so much fakery these days. What do you believe as an individual? What do you what do you sway with? What do you dance along with? That is the question. I'm here talking to myself, but yeah, I'll call all hands on deck for the puzzle I'll present in a bit. I think it's the culmination of all our efforts, and there's an onus on us, me especially, to solve it. I have the start of it, and I have the gist of it as well. Remember when I solved the 2015 Economist cover? Yeah. Everything reversed, and like children, we entered stage left, and we followed the clues. The Pied Piper, who led the children away. So we followed the clues and we followed the arrows until eventually it led us to the solution, which was, the dodo and Mauritius. Now Aristarchus came later because the dodo, once you understood that it didn't exist, then it's a symbol which represents what? The Gleason's map was presented to us flat earthers upon arrival. And when you imagine some of the waters drained away, like the Philippines, like the New Zealand, Australia, so you connect the Mediterranean Sea, the Gulf of Mexico, then a certain bird jumps out at you. So yeah, beyond the literal, a deeper story is ingrained within the crafting or the creation that is the fictional creation that is the dodo bird. And well, that was 2015. There was more to go. Luckily, I knew the answer beforehand. So when I arrived at the solution, I knew for certain it was the solution to the hidden puzzle, which is probably one of the most significant. What am I going to say? I've discovered many significant on a world, an earth-wide basis scale, because this, what do you call it? This story spans centuries. It goes back to our origins almost, which best I can say is when the dodo was discovered. The dodo bird representing the changing face of the land post felling of the tree of life, Aristarchus, this side, but on the other side, the tree is the time. So we're all of us in Underland. So yeah, was I aware of Aristarchus at that time? For the early days, for the most part, actually, I was debating and I was making my findings clear on Gem Panda's Discord. So you and most of my listeners here, my listeners, most of the people listening wouldn't be aware of that, but some would as well. These are all people and crews put in place. These are all establishment sort of operations, collators of information, and ultimately part of the, what are you going to say? I'll let you decide. I'll let you decide. Ultimately, part of the opposition anyway, but there's more to it than that. There's a greater there's a greater cooperation going on earthwide at this stage, and we the people are. I'm not going to say the last to wake up as usual, because well, there's an individual sort of quest in play, and there are certainly people, powers, entities, etc., who are aware of all of this and are playing active roles in the greater theater that we call, well, life on Earth. And that's what it is. That's what it has to be. That's what it has to be. And I came to that conclusion a long time ago. We are greater than the material. Heliocentrism led us into material only existence, which culminated in the Big Bang, which ultimately is metaphor for the big fuck. When the penis, excuse my language, this is not, I mean, what are you going to say? But I don't mean it in any lewd or bawdy or crude way, right? But the big fuck, the Big Bang, when the sperm meets its opposite, its divided opposite, the egg, right? Because the two opposites come together, the male and the female. But then you have sparks, and this is the way it's designed. This is the way it's designed. And but then your material universe began. That doesn't mean that that's all you are. So once again, my conclusion: yeah, this is a construct we have ventured in here, and it's not about invading bubbles, coming in, taking all our resources. This is just part of the storytelling. And well, best as I can reckon, nearly, I'm not going to say quite because there is more, and that comes back to our true natures, but nearly all roads lead to Aristarchus. That's the way it's written in the Tree of Life. We live on its stump surface. It generates the collapsed barrier. So once again, yeah, why is the moon in its phases? Because, well, it's got to do with the movement, first of all, at the center. It's also got to do with the reflective collapsed barrier and its dimensions above, which is very important. And yeah, if you imagine a bubble collapsing, you sort of elongates a bit. And this is what the elliptical relationship between the heliocentric sun and the orbiting planets is about. It's sort of stressed. So if we reverse everything, this is our sort of conclusion. And my best thinking is that yeah, we're under an outer barrier which begins low at the north. This is why you have the more sort of inclement weather, mostly snow and lower clouds. And as it rises to its highest point along equatorial areas, where you have, funny enough, you have the tropical weather, right? When logically, if the sun is what they say it is, these should all be the desert areas because it has the most sort of imbalance, and in general, it has the most exposure to this penetrating sun on average, right? But no, that's not the case. That's because, well, the true answer is because the sun is something different. It's a reflection. And yeah, anyway, it declines again to ground, pretty much ground level at the southern peripherals. And This is what we're under. It's like a massive donut cut in half, which you've seen probably represented many times, but it's elongated. And is there a greater outer barrier surrounding everything, or is there an inner barrier, which is maybe slightly higher, it could be slightly lower as well? But anyway, is that the case? I felt in that as well. I won't expand, but you get the general idea. And well, this is what I'm saying. You're not going to be able to prove any of this stuff to anyone, and especially in this arena then. So this is about coming to understand your true place. If we've read Alice in Wonderland, as I have done on my channel, Alice You're Looking Glass, this tells us that we have to earn our crowns. This tells us that we have to follow a series of clues that ultimately are laid down by, well, who other maybe than ourselves, or a greater, higher power that we are ultimately part of. And coming to that determination and that decision, which once again instigated by Aristarchus of Samos, who took the central focus away from Earth and put it towards the sun, heliocentric, Hel. El is very significant. No L, right? Christmas. Christmas is Winterfell. Why is the House of Stark motto Winterfell? And also, that's the name. Actually, that's the name of the house is Winterfell. I don't even know much about this. Just a fact associated with the script itself. But yeah, winter is coming is a house motto, and the house itself is called Winterfell. And very interesting. On 25th of December, we celebrate the birth of Christ, the dying heart of winter. And how do we celebrate that? With a cut tree. So this is not about a literal interpretation anymore. We all know the historical, we all have a grasp on, or at least it's easily grasped, the historical stories attached to all the different stories regarding origins of, the greater festive activities the Western world participate in, right? Getting beyond that, when we look to the symbolism, and that's what I think, the clues are everywhere. Rockabye baby on the treetop. When the wind blows, the cradle will rock. When the bough breaks, the cradle will fall. Down will come baby, cradle and all. We're told right there. And then the Christmas tree as well tells you as well, the cut tree. When we connect it to the X and we reconnect the power in a spiraling fashion upwards, what emanates from the top? None other than, I should look at my own. What am I looking at the screen for everything backwards? None other than a massive star. Massive star. And what's that star? Aristarchus, friends. So it's written. So the dodo leads to Aristarchus. The dodo representing the tree is cut, so you have the land as it juts above the invading waters. That's the general map, the general layout. And also representing the divided state of us, male from female, self from self, in a spiraling fashion down the spine. The male genitalia are external. They're the plus. The female is the negative. It's the space that was vacated when everything was externalized, when the two were pulled apart. So putting the two together again, once again, when we do combine, the greatest miracle known to us, the child is conceived. When did you stop being a child? Okay? Cheers, my friends. And I know I can talk. I can waffle on. But look, it's just a casual hanging out. My mother's out living it up with seemingly all the restrictions lifted, but not really now. So now it seems that the Indian strain of corona is here, which I predicted weeks ago. Because I heard it on the news in passing. Massive, and I even asked Turd in Nathan Oakley's chat. He lives in India, and he said, "Yeah, seemingly there's a massive, a massive problem anyway." But I said to myself, and I said it openly as well, that will be over here soon. They're giving us a sort of a lull in the center, and they're going to prepare us for another wave. And on top of that, then I believe there's an E. coli thread with all vegetables. So we're fucked in every way. Get your backs. And I'm not giving out advice to anybody. I don't do that. I tell my truth, and that is that there's a greater symbolic tale being told here. You do what you want. You do what you want. You take what you want, where you want. Who am I even talking to? I'm actually talking to myself here. Don't you take something, some places though. I'm talking to myself here. I was in prison for a week. I knew not to do that. Actually, there was no threat of that because I was in isolation. Actually, I have my. I'm going to read. I'm going to read what their statement is. I'm going to put it on record here. Geez, they're fucked. They're fucked. Like, but anyway, yeah, uh, yeah. I was no threat of that because I was in complete isolation. The only time anyone come in was when there was food to be delivered, which I never had anything in the whole week, the whole 8 days. I guess it was an 8 day trial and tribulation. But the only other time people came in was when they wanted to fucking eke out information, and they had some. They didn't know who I was. I told you, William Kalaki was down on. The sergeant said, "Oh, you look like William Kalaki," and that's who I was up in court on, and that's who they had me in prison under the name William Kalaki. What was the crime? As far as I was concerned, there was no crime. The cops just came up and asked me my name, and I said, which is the truth. Why are you asking me that? Oh, do you suspect me of something? No. Well, I'm not obliged to answer then. You are. And then ultimately, yeah, they arrested me. And well, I'll read you out their story, their statement, and they're screwed as well because one guy is separate. I was talking to him; he's separating himself from everything. And depending on how far I take this, he should be worried. He should be very worried. Um, but yeah, I won't get into that in too much detail yet. But yeah, up in the prison, they tried their damnedest to get the name out of me, and ultimately they did it by illegal means. They went through my phone. I'm convinced that they had to have hacked into it. They're fucking in the right place. Yeah, where will I find someone who will be able to break open a password from a phone, a simple phone, Android phone? Oh, that's fucking Johnny down in cell 24. He'll fucking do that in a jiffy. Johnny in a jiffy, they call him. Johnny in a jiffy. There's a song in that, isn't there? There's a song in that. Johnny in a jiffy, they call him because he's so quick and you know. Au fait. Now I put it out the chat. Here's a word I was wondering about. Luddite, right? So I have a recollection, and I will look it up myself and saying, but before I look up anything, I'll give you my thought on it. That it is a reference to a sort of an enemy of the Jews in biblical times. That the Luddites were conquered alongside the ask me now, ask me, but you know what I mean. They were a prominent part, and the term has survived to mean a certain thing, which is someone who's sort of behind the times, hasn't moved along with current developments in certain areas or certain sense. But yeah, I think ultimate roots may go back to there, unless I can't think of an equivalent word that I'm thinking of. So I know I'm close, but I'm thinking because none of that happened. That's all just storytelling. The Bible is, excuse me, the Bible is about you. The Bible is your story. It's your first layer of clues. If you can solve the mystery by the Bible alone, fair play to you. You've done what very few have done. If you need extra clues, then you have to follow the clues. And there's clues presented at every hand's turn, especially in this generation. Remember, the internet is only here 20 years. None of this would have been possible. It couldn't have been possible for the ordinary layman. Of course, the truth is always known, but it wouldn't have been possible for the ordinary layman. I'm a knacker from Thomagate as well, so it definitely wouldn't have been possible for me. I mean, if I didn't take a different path in life, and I just went on like the rest, the chances are I would have been, I don't know, one of those people who I was just looking at this the other day actually, one of those people who, when the cow is butchered and all that, and the skin is torn off, but there's all this fucking matter and everything. I'm one of those scrapers. That's most of the people do around here anyway. No, they don't. No, they don't. No, they don't. No, they don't. There's no sort of categorical separations or distinctions. There's good and bad people to be found everywhere. You judge somebody by anything. What do you judge somebody by? Well, their actions, their deeds, I guess. But even try not to do that at that stage, because everything is for a reason. If someone harms or fouls, remember that child is ultimately, misguided because they were born a miracle. but something happened that, and a whole different course happened that brought them to do this. Ultimately, well, we're all the same. No, if you're going to say your child is a miracle, well, then you have to say every child is a miracle, and not just say it because you have to, because you know it, and we're all miracles. So anyway, that's a different matter. But yeah, I will do a bit of reading from there. I'll play a few more songs before the mother gets in, and yes, I will present the what do you call it? What I say is the culmin. What I'm thinking now, more and more, is the culmination in all of this. I brought you back to 2015 with the Economist cover solution, which was the Dodo and Mauritius. More Aristarchus is the greatest Starkism. When we break it up, Mar star cus chus can also be pronounced chus, right? So Mauritius star, and this is the French emblem. Parlez-vous le français? My Steve was in France, in Sarah's belly, and there's a reason for everything. There's a reason for everything. And Steve was always my king. I'm king of Era, and I always knew that. Just like you are king, my friend. Everyone takes an oath to the people, right? All the people in power have taken oath. Corporations don't exist only via allowance. They wouldn't get away with it on a local matter. If any business stepped out of line on a local matter, they'd be, by the people, by just the general goodwill of the people, rooted out. But no, yeah, they're installments within a different system, and yeah, what is that system? How do you maneuver around it? How do you beat it? That's up to you, isn't it? Not your destination, not you hope for it. Where there's a way, a will can be developed. So cheers and sláinte, my dear friends. Let me just say the second song was Big Grab a Smoke here. Smoke. Yeah, have a smoke. The second song was Breakfast at Tiffany's. I blasted it out there. That's the way I'd sing it now, busking. But there's no one. There's no one in the vicinity. Kieran next door has gone up to Sligo where he works, and Paddy and Patsy next door are in the back room, so they can't hear anything. And the windows are fucking unbelievable. The only windows that my mother, this is how much she hates me, the only windows that my mother put the alarms on, the back windows here upstairs, her own, all the front windows, not. And I've often my dad early, and not early, not too early, but see my mother's windows wide open, and I'm fucking gasping for air in here, and she knows I'm, what do you call it? Well, she doesn't. Well, she does. She knows I struggle for air sometimes, like, and do you ever get those sort of, you're sleeping and you have to, I'm getting those more and more frequently, but I don't mind them. It's okay. It's sort of like, I gotta shake myself out of this. It's not in terms of a bad dream or anything. It's just a breathing problem. But the windows have made it so much worse. You can't hear a fucking thing that's going on outside, and there's no air. Two little tiny vents letting air in. That's what I'm going to do during the summertime. She won't be here, says she. That mightn't be as well. It might be. Where might I be? Well, if I'm to go anywhere, friends, and I'll share it with you, if there's a way under, right, it's one of the places that I find it is Mauritius. Absolutely certain of that. Right? Absolutely certain of that. So maybe with a few grand, $5 in my pocket, a son in my hand, and whoever else, find a way down and under the barrier, and then up to the north. What else? What else? But I hold that Eden has come to us, and all has been revealed. A whole lot of dates, but those are but. There's a different story there. 6 months, half a year after 25th of December, which is Noel, Xmas, I-O Mass, Christmas, Christ Mass. Aristarchus is an anagram of Christ's aura, A-U-R-A, golden sun. A-U is an astronomical unit, with distance from Earth to Sun. 93 million miles. Flight 93, do you remember that in 9/11? People are going around still thinking planes crashed in 9/11. I'm a crazy fucker here. But people, I'm not crazy at all though, because people soon learn to, and I don't mean that in a bad way or in a bullying way. I have my own point of view on things, and I'll express my point of view if I'm talking to people. And I'm not just bullshitting. I mean, I met people today, and I especially met strangers at the weekend. What was it, Saturday? Was it Saturday or Sunday? Saturday, actually, yeah. It was Saturday as I was coming home from busking. And yeah, before you know it, I ended up there till 11:30, singing with the guitar whipped out and singing songs, and met loads of lovely, gorgeous people. But every one of them know, and I've got a few subscribers that I don't want. I'm not interested in subscribers. I'd recommend people don't listen to my show because I waffle on so much. That's only because I've gone over through all the basics before. So, you know, yeah, they all know who I am. They all know that, you might laugh at me originally for saying that the earth is flat, but you won't get away with it for much longer because I don't care who you are. You know, I'm too well versed in it, and that's not versed in terms of you know input information from an outside. It's a controlling force. No, I understand that there's the whole arena is set up. That's just my own thinking my way through it and being satisfied that this is necessarily the greater, has to be necessarily the greater truth. And it becomes obvious after a while. And then we enter the realm of metaphor. The spinning ball earth is metaphor. And it's a puzzle and a challenge we set ourselves. I was only talking to somebody tonight about puzzles in games and, how provocative they can be and how challenging. And yeah, all of these facilities are given to us to exercise all parts of us, right? Remember, once again, we're divided into three fundamental sections. We have the immaterial center, which is the brain, the hemisphere, and the hemisphere, something missing, right? Then we have the heart center, which is anagrammatical with earth and ether. Then we have the gut center, right, which is, ultimately an inverted half brain, a pulled apart half brain, an extension to the compression above. That's not hard to see. So everything through the heart has an equivalent below. When I talk about Bell Earth, Bell Earth, yeah, we have a bell end, don't we? As males, pineal, spine, penis, head, head, he, AD, right? So God is known as I am, but also He. It's not she or it, it's He. So yeah, head, HEAD, art, HERT, right? And well, what's the lowest aspect? Heel, HEEL, no L, right? So what the L represents and the E, and especially in relation to the E, we are born the E, and you can go down to the L or you can go up to the T. And this ultimately is, the greater sort of reconciliation that has to be made to understand that, yeah, we are in this divided state. And, well, this is what satanic or it's material. It's a material bias as you go down into the depths, and this is what heliocentrism is. Heliocentrism. And yeah, it's, as I said before, it's the basis of the material only existence. And who's the originator or the father of heliocentrism? As the story goes, the man never existed. None other than Aristarchus of Samos, right? Okay, so another clue for us. You can chalk it down as another clue, another significant clue in terms of the history of science. So we have one Aristarchus. Very curious, isn't it? One Aristarchus, and both are connected, I guess. The reason they call the greater Aristarchus the most mysterious is after the originator of heliocentrism. But the story scriptwriters knew that the Earth, the spinning ball Earth, was a metaphor. They wrote the script. So they wrote it in a certain way, and that's why Aristarchus is the most encoded um, and significant word in the English language. And there's many different significances to it. Moristarchus is the best Starchism. More I star Shus or Cus. So it's Mauritius star. And once again, the dodo is where is listed as the home of the singular home of the Mauritius is listed as the singular home of the dodo, and in its greater significance, the dodo representing the divided state of the earth, the tree stump as you look down, and well, the bell earth is a big hollow in the center, with the thing sticking through, with the Mickey sticking through. From the other side, the roots sticking through, looking for perches. That's good. Looking for perches. Yeah, and well, it's the story of our lives, isn't it? It's a good one. It's the story of our lives. But the first song I sang there was another rowdy number, a great song to sing, busking, cold letter blues. Bob Dylan, loads of clues in there. Bob Dylan is one of the chief clue givers. He's the poker card. Paul McCartney is the dodo. Tom York is the dodo, and Michael Jackson is the dodo. They all know who I am. I've ever smoked a cigarette here. Oh, there's a wonderful green hue to the sky again, which has been consistent for the last however long. Wonderful. Yeah. Do you want to come on the show here? What? You want to come on the show? Come on in here. No. Yeah. You want to say hello to the people? No. Why not? They all know you and love you, Mom. For putting up with me. Mom, what you call it off again? The thing. I only heard it once as well, so I fixed it. Well, I didn't hear it, and normally it goes off every two or 1 or 2 days, and I think I fixed it. So let's see how long it lasts. And if it does, you have to say to me, Peter, you were right there. You fixed it. She hates to admit. She hates to admit it. She hates to admit things. So she got new windows in. So it got whole. As always, it brings us back to the subject, which is not the subject at all. At all, at all. But the new windows. Actually, it's interesting because I want to talk about a little GoFundMe in a little bit, if it's possible. So yeah, that reminded me. But there was a little problem with the alarm going off sporadically, intermittently, for no reason. And I was thinking, oh, tamper zone. So it was in the bathroom. We knew it was in the bathroom. And she didn't want to call the guy out. And I said, okay, I'll have a look at it. She didn't ask me to have a look at it, but I said I'd have a look at it anyway. And I suspected that because there's two sensors coming together, that one wasn't quite solidly laid down. And that's all it was. I took up a screwdriver and screwed it in, and I screwed it in the other side. And he went through too far on one of the threads, so no matter how much you turn it, you can't secure it to the thing. And on the other one, then it was just, it wasn't, what do you call it? It wasn't tightened. It wouldn't be a job I would have done. And it's pretty easy just to screw in a couple of things, drill. But my mother wouldn't, what do you call that? And I said that was the problem. And yeah, she won't accept it. She said she only heard it going off once, which was shortly after I did the screw in, and it hasn't gone off since. So she'd never admit it. And she'll always go, the workman is right and I'm wrong because I do nothing. I don't do nothing. I do something. We all do something. I do nothing, then do a lot of things. That's what I say to you. That's what I say to you. But I don't do nothing. I was singing today. Busking is doing something. It's singing songs, and you earn a few quid. What they earn, I'll be honest and straight. But if some man gave me a fiver, that's very decent, isn't it? These children, funny enough, these children were. So they just met someone right in the centre of town. That's like Debenhams in Limerick, which is vacated now, because they knew about the corona and the Debenhams company, and they exited just before, and they left all the workers in the lurch. So when they came back last week, for all of their stock, which is probably worth millions inside, yeah, the police were out in force, 100 strong apparently, against all the protesters that have been protesting since the start of corona, because they were left without redundancy, some of them serving many, many years. Yeah, many of them were arrested, needless to say, and the company got what they came for. So yeah, that's the society we're living in. But the whole building is vacated now, and it's right in the centre of Limerick City. So I have a great audience, and yeah, there was just a man was coming across the road with his wife and two children. He saw and they met someone they knew, so they were talking just ahead of me by the traffic lights. And he saw how interested the children were, and I love children. I don't care about money or anything like that. The greatest feeling comes from children. One little girl came by today, and I've seen her a few times, and she's always. The parents don't say the mother or the grandmother. They don't say hello too much. They say hello, but the girl is always going, I know him, and you know what she did? She did this to me. I'm walking down, little chubby girl. I don't mean that in a bad way. Definitely, she would lose a bit of weight. And I'll be honest with you, her eyes are sort of crossed as well. Not her fault, but gorgeous girl, and we always say hello together. But she kept going up the road. Hey, she didn't know my name or anything. Hey, and she's doing the heart, and she's going like this. She was 3 years of age, even. Honestly, that sort of thing gets you into heaven. Where's your currency in heaven? Where's your currency in heaven? That sort of thing, and that happened umpteen times. And yeah, the man who saw that his children were interested. One was in the pram, about 2 years of age, and the other was his younger boy. As this stranger was playing harmonica and guitar, something they're probably not used to seeing in the course, and they stood there for about 5 minutes or 10 minutes even. And I was singing my Corona. That's just the title of the song now. My Corona is a hoax song. Will I get banned for that? Why should I? That's just the name of the song. I didn't write it and I sang it. And it was just written by somebody else. What? You can't sing a song? Anyway, yeah, they liked it. And your man gave me a fiver, so very sound. Otherwise, I think I made about I gave it a little bit away as well, but that's okay. But I made about, I'd say about €12, something like that, which is sound excellent, excellent. Uh, but I had a good day as well. Had a good day and had a few cans as usual. And I rest assured that that, that the cops won't ever disturb me again. Let me read out to you this. There we go. These are not my glasses, by the way. I just found them and they're handy when you're sewing a needle or putting thread through a needle. How do I like my glasses? Do I like? Someone said that to me recently. They always have trouble getting into nightclubs. Me myself, I'm 6 foot. Well, outside of shoes, 6'1 3/4. That's the way I measured myself in hospital one time. In shoes, probably 6'2", 6'2.5". Yeah, always a trouble in nightclubs everywhere. Everywhere, I did nothing. I'm the quietest guy you'd meet. Really. Now that doesn't mean I won't be able to stand up for myself, and that doesn't mean the stuff I say doesn't cause turmoil in some cases, fist fights in others, almost anyway. But yeah, I have no mean or bad or malintentions. If I'm talking to somebody, I want to talk to somebody who wants to talk to me as well. And what's the point in talking to somebody if I'm not talking about a casual encounter? But beyond that, even over the course of a night, what are you going to do? Pretend? Pretend what? Towards what? So yeah, I say what I have to say, and I've always done that. And it doesn't earn you many friends, but it earns you a lot of friends. I'm respected by a lot of people, which you think. They'll never go out to cause harm, never do, and I'm banned from most places in town. Actually, interesting story down at the weekend. As I said, I was coming back from busking, and outside of Debenhams back in, and I knew there was probably a big crowd. It was a lovely day, and yeah, as I was coming along, actually, I took out the guitar in another place. I was talking to a few guys, I sang a few songs, but I decided to leave that go. And I walked up. As I walked towards home, then another group of people pulled me aside, placed a song, bud. And before you knew it, then as I said, we were. It wasn't a drinking fest or anything. I was actually taking it easy, but yeah, playing guitar, having a chat to all of these youngsters, and it was great. It was great. It was great crack all day. The youngsters very fond of drink. Like, I mean, and some of those girls were 17, which is okay. Okay, they're mature enough, but they keep their own company. But drink is an awful poison, and especially for young people as well. As some find out the hard way. But anyway, I didn't see any nastiness. The only nastiness I saw in the night was when the cops came along, and this is getting to the nub of the story. The cops came along at about 11:15, I would say, something like that. That's what it seemed to me anyway. And everything was shutting down anyway. I was still playing. You know what I played? I was playing Slip and as this is the top of my voice, it was slip inside the eye of your mind. Don't you know you might find a better place to play? Uh, no problem, right? Because the bar had closed, but yeah. Anyway, the two cops came on, and it was just me and another fellow called Wayne. He's a lovely guy as well, man. He was telling me his story of woe, and it fucking is her ex-heroin addict in prison a few times and all that. But a lovely guy, and he loves the guitar as well, and just encouraging him to pick it up. But the cops came along, two youngsters. They can't have been fucking 20, 21, male and a female, telling you like in this aggressive tone to move on, and you know saying, "Oh, moving on, I'm here. I'm going to finish my drink or whatever." And they were the other side of the wall. They started getting aggressive then. I said, "I don't like you getting aggressive." And I'm not feeling comfortable as well myself because I know that all it takes, if I don't stand up to this guy, all it takes, or even if I do stand up to this guy, all it might take is another phone call, bring a paddy wagon down. And you're in the paddy wagon. I was looking at my guitar and I had 3 cans left as well that I was going to take home. And yeah, I was going, fucking hell, what am I going to do there? Anyway, he said, and he was real aggressive, little bollocks. He was real aggressive. What's your name? Where do you come from? And I said, I'm not giving you my name. I haven't done anything here, man. And he said, "What's your name? If you don't give me your name," this sort of thing. I said, "I'm not going to do it." I said, "Hang on a second." And I reached into my phone, and my phone was out of battery as well. Reached into my phone and said, "Hang on a second. Let me just record this for posterity." And the minute I took out my phone, not that everything changed, but shortly afterwards, his partner, the female, was saying, "Come on," and then they moved up just to usher the other people on. But without that, I would have got away with it still because I would have put them on due notice, and there's already a case in situ in play at the minute. But yeah, they're completely in the wrong. You know what the one said? She said, "You shouldn't be here anyway." I said, "What do you mean we shouldn't be here? The pubs are open. The pubs are open. Where are the people going to drink? Who opened the pubs?" And they did a bollocks of a thing as well. The fucking, excuse my language. Now, I don't mean this in a bad way. I really don't. And I said it to the owner of the Curragowra, which is the centre, and I didn't say it to him this time because I'm not going to go into that. Listen to me. I'm not going to go into that pub and pay a €5 for what I can get up in the off license around the corner for €1. And it's exactly the same, but it's just served in a plastic glass. You still have to come outside and drink it. Fuck, excuse me, fuck that. But I had met the owner beforehand, and I knew he was the owner, and he was up by the church. Lovely setting here in Limerick, it really is. It has a terrible name, and they're down in Limerick, I think, for very good reason. They know that I don't know, they know there's a spirit, there's a heart, maybe there's a source in Limerick that, well, it stands out. It stands out. And I'm not saying that, we're all not wonderful, but there's something specific about Limerick, and that's why it had to be put under the kibosh for so long, especially within Ireland. Ultimately, there's a thought it might go back to the Jews and the Limerick expulsion decision to expel the Jews from Limerick in 1905 or 1910, one or the other. And that's sort of retribution in place. But I think it's deeper than that as well. Maybe the King of Era resides in Limerick. Maybe the Queen of Era resides in Limerick. We're all kings and queens, my friend. Friends. Don't fool yourself. Anyway, the upshot was the cops walked away. That was it. And I made, as I was walking by the Treaty Stone as well, and they were there just talking to other people more politely than they were to me. And I made a sarcastic comment to the guy, and he didn't get it. He took it literally, and I was the enemy, as opposed to the police telling him to move on. Going about it in a false, feigned way anyway. But anyway, let me read this out, actually, since I have the glasses on. I don't have the glasses on. I need some glasses to see if I have glasses on or not. I need some glasses to see if I have glasses on or not. And now remember, let me just, I'm not making any deal about this just because I just want to read you this out. It's funny. So last time I was in court, I went in without a mask, and I made it clear that I'm here to represent the matter. Peter, I never said I'm Peter Sheehan. I made this at the start. I made it clear to everyone along the line that that's the situation, including the judge. The judge knows this, and the court officer, I guess, the court official administrator came over as he was wandering, sauntering around with his mask on. He said, "Where's your mask?" I said, "I don't wear a mask. Corona is a hoax." And he said, "Just relating what happened here, that's all." And he said, "Well, there's no legislation in place that can enforce or to can make you wear the mask." So, and already someone else came over then and must have said that, "Oh, this is your man. He's all right. Leave him alone," because he spent a week in Limerick prison in isolation on a hunger strike under the name William Kalaki for singing a song and for not giving a name to strangers who were supposed to be serving him, public servants, keepers of the peace. And they're arresting a man who is Oshiakon of Peter of the Peace, Oshiakon, for doing nothing but what I would say transmitting peace. And when we hear a nice song, it moves us. We're all about memory. When you think of a beautiful name, if you think of anyone you loved in the past, you love their name. You love their name. That's all. So it's like a beautiful song as well that maybe is reasonably sung, especially when you don't expect it. When there was no one walking those streets, when there was no not when there was no one, but when none of the shops were open, I was in busking. When none of the other buskers were around, that's true. I didn't see any buskers around when I was busking. I didn't care. It's not about that. Something to do for me for one, but also it's an expression. And life is emergent. You never know how you're going to feel on the moment, or in the moment, or on the moment. It's probably better. Anyway, that's a different matter. Let me read this. Yeah, Nora. You know. Oh, by the way, hi, you Nora. Let me. No, I should say hello to chat. Let me read this first, Nora. Let me tell you. Let me tell you how. And I think they're out of control for very definitive reasons. Right. Everything has been made obvious now, and everything is sort of in preparation. In general, I would say everything's fine. Whenever you introduce drink, you see, there's going to be fucking messy because drink is a poison, and they know that. They know that. But in general, the guards do a good job. They have fucking lots of shit to deal with. They really do, and everything has sort of been cleaned up at the minute. Do you remember? Oh, I have another story to tell. Fucking hell! Hopefully now, if I have any power, I'll probably I have to do stuff. I have to do stuff to help people. But no, remember I told you before? I get my weed from I used to get it from a guy in Ballinanty called Noel or Noggin. He was called. He's called. He was only, and I hadn't been to him for ages because I knew he was keeping a low profile. But I saw him on the bridge. I went up to him the day before, or maybe that early that day, one day, maybe a summer 2 years ago. And I just looked for a 50 bag, a 50, two, three, desperate, right? But he's okay. He always gives you good quality, and you know what you're getting. And sometimes because I'm once a night, he's okay to me. He never has much to say, but it's grand. But I went up to him for 53 grams, and he had none. He said, "Come back to me this evening, probably." And I said, "Well, okay." I went into town. Maybe I was busking that day. And anyway, I was by the river. I was looking up the river by the new Shannon Bridge here, looking up past the hotel, the Clayton Hotel, is it? And I just spotted this. I was probably having a can of smoke or something. I was probably waiting for a smoke, so just a can. And yeah, I saw this boat in the distance, cruising down the river, and you could see that there was like three or four heads in it, but it was like one of those lifesaver boats or whatever, something like that, along those lines, whatever you call that. And it was a powered dinghy, a powered big dinghy. That's what you call it, whatever you call it. It's more like the rescue, search and rescue boat, without the search and rescue and all that, and without the search and rescue guys in the search and rescue uniforms. It would have just been Noel and his cronies, who I knew as well, Michael and his cousins, or but I wouldn't have known them by facial features because they were ahead of the crew. They had masks on at the time, so they had full masks on, and I just maybe their eyes were showing or something, but I recognized Noel. I think the dog was in there as well. So I said, "Nice one," and I gave him a big. So they were after collecting a big bale of weed or something up the river. Don't know anything about his dealings, but up the river and transported it down the river and yeah, distributed it, sold it themselves. That's all. Anyway, Noel, who I hadn't seen in ages, was seemingly gone for 900 grams worth of weed. I said, "What the fuck? 900 grams worth of weed." Now, in real terms, that's probably like something like two, the bales of briquettes, something like that. I'm thinking probably a bit more, whatever. 900 grams, especially priced 3 grams for €50. That's what they'd be sort of equating it with, you know what I mean? Which is nonsense anyway. But yeah, 900 grams. So I'm thinking something like that. Even though that seems probably even one bale of briquettes. Well, if you don't know what a bale of briquettes is, no, it'd have to be more than that, wouldn't it? Let me think. Probably the suitcase. Remember the suitcase I was smoking weed into? I won't be doing that again. That was a terrible idea. It was a terrible idea. Jesus, that got me into more trouble. Especially with the new windows as well. And I can't blame them anyway. I tried my best though, it's not as if my heart is in the wrong place. I mean, when you're having a drink and you smoke, you like to have a smoke. Do you know what I found out now? Again, every cloud is a silver lining. So, Annie, let me, you see the way I go off along? Every cloud is a silver lining. So, my mother has no alarms in the front window. My mother's a late night owl as well. She'll stay up till 3 o'clock doing a crossword and watching television and doing what she does, eating her chocolate. She eats chocolates and she eats Jaffa cakes by the new time. I said, why do you do that? Well, I did 13,000 steps today. Well, okay, but your body is getting older. You need to cut down on these sort of things. And by the way, I'm definitely cutting down on these sort of things. I'm growing my brother. I met my beautiful brother Andrew today, and he said, "You're growing boobs," and he said, "That's what happened to me because I was drinking too much, and it all goes to your boobs." I think there's something else going on, a sort of equilibrium coming between males and females. There's a different energy in the air. As I know it intuitively at this stage. I know it via the repeating cloud patterns. I also know it via this green hue in the sky that you can see at night. You can't see during the day because of the interfering sun. Remember, the sun is an unnatural emanation. It's as a result of a destroyed sort of system. But getting back to reading this and getting back to how this came to be, this is their that my version of events is exactly what happened. And the cop car pulled up. The cop said from his window, "What's your name? Where do you come from?" And I said, "What do you?" And then I went over to him and asked him, "Well, what's your name and what's your number?" And the three of them said, gave me their name and number. I think I doubt. I said, I can't prove it, but I asked them, "Are they under their oath?" And I asked them, "Yeah, that was it. Their name and number, are they under oath?" And they were aware that if there's no crime committed, I'm not obliged to give my name. And they said I was. I said I'm not. And I stepped back to my, what do you call it, place. Now, when they arrived, I just finished the song. I wasn't singing, and I was in the midst of tuning my guitar. So when I stepped back, I was tuning my guitar, and I wasn't singing around. And they got out, three of them got out of the van, and they asked the same question. And it was, "What's your name? Where do you come from?" I said, once again, "Why?" And I forgot. I had my phone. Excuse me. I had my phone there. I should have whipped it out. And recorded it. But anyway, there was cameras there, so they'll come into what do you call it, if needs be, because it would contradict immediately their statement, and they're also screwed because it won't be just one person telling a fib. It'll have to be three. If I take it to maybe a full jury or something like that. Anyway, um, yeah, that was the story. "What's your name? Where do you come from?" I said, "Now listen, I'm not obliged to give that. You don't suspect me of a crime." I asked him again, "Is me of a crime or I'm going to commit a crime?" "No." Well, then I'm not obliged to do that. And they said, "Well, you're under arrest." And I said, "Okay, are you sure? Are you sure you don't, this is not right? You're acting outside of uh, your powers here." But anyway, I put them under due notice, each and every one of them. I said that for every hour I'm incarcerated from this point onwards, I'll come with you under stress and duress. I don't consent. But for every hour I'm incarcerated from this point onwards, I'll be charging the three of you um, 10,000 euros. I was brought into the van, brought up to the station. They pissed off. They just left me in. I don't know what they said to the others. We get to see now what they said. But yeah, when I got in, they wanted my name to charge me with, as far as I was concerned, which is the only crime that they told me about, which was that yeah, I didn't give the name and address when it was demanded of me. Now, as I was packing up, as I said this before, as I was packing up, I was in a little cubby hole. They didn't see that behind my coat there was a bag and there was cans in the bag. They didn't see that. And if I had asked them what cans were they didn't ever saw me touching any of that. As far as that they were concerned, there was an open can there, but it could have just been rubbish laid out all day. I'm not going to say anything. I'll tell the absolute truth if I need to. But they didn't know that. So here we go. On the 9th of the 2nd, I'm reading this out because it's fucking hilarious. When you see this, I should dedicate a show to this. It's hilarious when you see some of the accounts, right? I should dedicate a show to this because I didn't give a fuck about this stuff. Like, but I read through it briefly, and there's a report on like a constant progress. I guess it's like a hospital. You have to take a constant, what do you call it? Some of it's very funny. Listen to this. On the 9th of the 2nd, 2021, Garda observed the male singing at O'Connell Street, Limerick. Garda approached the male and observed open cans of beer at his feet, so the first lie. Garda Barron directed the male, now known to be Peter Sheehan, to leave the area and desist from his behaviour. Never happened, right? Peter Sheehan failed to comply and insisted he was not subject to the law as the king of era. Is it? Peter Sheehan repeatedly refused to leave the area and to provide his details and was arrested under offences of public order at Henry Street Garda Station. Peter Sheehan continued to refuse to provide details and was charged to appear at Limerick District Court on the 10th of the 2nd, 2020. He wasn't. William Kalaki was. They only found out later that Peter Sheehan, well, is the legal name, first of all, O'Shea Khan, but that's the king of era. Now, as I was certain that I was arrested, and I knew that they have no grounds here. What are they doing? Well, this is stupid. I ultimately know why they did what they did, but they're screwing themselves. I'm a free man. I've done nothing wrong here. Nothing to anyone. They're the only ones who caused. That's what I meant to say about the other night as well. Throughout the whole day, beautiful day, great crack all around, honestly. And I was amongst, and actually I met Roisin as well, and her friend. They had all heard about me because they all live in a house somewhere. And yeah, some of them were out. One of them, Eilish, hi Eilish, she was out with her camera and she wanted me to sing the Corona is a hoax song, so I did oblige at the end of the time. But yeah, we had a great day. The only trouble, this quiet was when the cops came along. And actually, that gets me back to your man, the owner of the pub. Last time they did that, and it's fucking disgusting. At 8 o'clock, they closed the whole pub. That was like last Sunday before that. They closed the whole pub, toilets and all. Just fair enough, pub closing because they're the official time. But they closed the fucking toilets. And all the girls, there was about 9 girls on the wall, all beautiful girls, all wonderful, you know, 9 girls on the wall, and, you know, one in particular, Isabel, dying, you know, as nature calls, and there's nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. I told, listen, the idea of 2 choices. You can go to one of the houses nearby and hope, or you just go behind the bush. That's what I did. Go behind the bush. And, you know, it's not, you don't want to have to do it. What the fuck are you going to do? I have a great story to tell you what I did when I was in Greenwich in London in 1990 when I was 18. And I was with my aunt and uncle Ina and Mike. And we went across London to meet people or whatever. I had a good few drinks in the pub and a great night. We were riding home in the train, the last train. We had to rush from the pub to the last train home, and it was a straight journey. And on the tubes, there's no fucking toilet whatsoever. What are you going to do? You feel good leaving the pub, but then your body tells you, hang on, bud, you're after drinking fucking 6 or 7 pints of beer here, and you only got rid of 1 or 2, right? And as I was trying to get rid of it, you fucking kept refilling up. Yeah, so you didn't listen to your body until your body said you're going to fucking listen now, and you're only halfway to your destination, and the strangers on either side of you, the man that uncle would across the way, I can't do it. What else am I going to do? Like, and then the train's going to do, you know, what are you going to do? Well, the only option left, as it's a matter of fact, is succumb. What can you do? I'm sure we all have similar stories or something along the lines. But what I did anyway, as simply as I could, first of all, pee down one leg, sort of in stops and starts, and trying to control it, which is sort of worse as well. You try to think, okay, if I get like maybe a third of it out, then you know the other 2/3 will be grand. They'll go, well, yeah, at least you got rid of those fucking ruffians. That fucking the newcomers. Actually, the newcomers would be at the top. Anyway, the old, yeah, get rid of the old, like the Corona. Oh God, that's terrible. We all go to heaven, friends. Orona is the light of heaven. See Orona, see the light of heaven. Why should we feel bad for somebody if we believe in heaven? we're feeling sorry for ourselves, and isn't it? Because well, we don't fully believe in ourselves. Anyway, um, so yeah, it didn't help by with the stops and starts with the pelvic floor muscles. I learned about those when I was in hospital, but yeah, after a while you just have to switch around, just kind of subtly switch around. I think luckily I had maybe a long enough coat. What else you gonna do? Like I could have peed, and I thought of every possibility. Uh, I must have thought about taking off a shoe. Like this is before I had the accident, so I was fit and healthy and all that. Just taking out. I must have thought about taking off a shoe and having this piss into that. It'd be fucking so stand out. What your man back train, back tube. What your man doing with his shoe off? What's he doing there? How could you hide it? Like, especially how could you hide the expression of relief on your face as you're after pissing into your shoe, as you smuggle it under your coat because you're dying for a piss on a tube train that has another half an hour to go before you get home, and there's no fucking toilet or no outlet there. Nightmare scenario. But ultimately, you gotta divide it equally. So that was the thing. You got to sort each pant leg and sock out, and no bias. No left right bias, black white bias. Just sort of do it equally as much as you can, and hope no one notices the two lines of wet along the bottom of your leg. Just sort of shuffle around, and so what can you do? Just daydream away. Oh, and I have another story, by the way. Let me just say, the cops were the only ones who brought the trouble to that situation that night. Everything else would have, gone off relatively mildly. Now, but in general, they are needed. They are needed. But yeah, and it's the same with me here. From all the experiences I had a few encounters. I've mentioned this before, but I don't hold that against Billy. I don't hold it against Billy. He's what you call he's king of air as well, man. But he's what you call classical racist. But he's probably entitled to it in the sense that he knows that and I know this situation. There's so many immigrants being invited in, and they're given the best of stuff, which is fair enough. We all deserve the best of stuff, but not, you have to treat all equally. There's a different, there's a policy in play here that I could talk about as well. Everything is property now is at a premium, and everything is on the upturn because why? The people, the powers, the be, you know crafted it all, and those in the know then bought up the property and had their way, um, in conjunction with greater policy. Then yeah, I don't succumb to that. I don't succumb to that. I think there's a greater plan in play, and we'll all be finding out very soon who owns what. For me, for one, I don't want to own anything. Don't own anything. I can't take anything with me. That's not the true currency. It'll be fair. It's all fake, but now, especially with the virtual currency, what are you supposed to do, man? What are you supposed to do there, Muslim? Cheers. Yeah, but I deem that will all be irrelevant soon. So that's the upshot of their statement. I'm going to go in. I was in there already, and I actually met the guy who sort of denies stuff. His name is Owen Sheehan, would you believe? And the other guy then is Mick Lamb. That's the sergeant. And he's the guy who said, "You look like William Kalaki." And I said, "Do I?" Now, just to bring it back to the King of Air, actually, just to bring it back to the Kurgar, the pub here, yeah, I said it to the owner on the previous occasion about Corona, just by the St. Munch's Church there, and he was in there, his children were playing inside. And I said, "What do you reckon, bud? Is the Corona a hoax?" And immediately he's on the back step because he can't. He's in a difficult position. Obviously, he knows he's after losing much business. I mean, that place is very, very busy, or could be very, very busy anyway. And I think it hires 40 people. And I hadn't been in there in a good few years, but I recognized him. But I did ask him that question. And immediately he rejected it and sort of walked away from me, separated. You're crazy. That's crazy talk. It's only a possibility, right? It's a possibility. We can discuss possibilities open. And these beautiful children they're playing. I said, is the truth or anything but the truth good enough for them? But yeah, that's what they did. And so that's what they did. Closed the pub. I'm sure they did the same this week. I wasn't paying attention. I just look after myself where I have to. If I have to go, I'll just go across the road. There's places to go for a male. Not so not so friendly for a female. But yeah, they did that and left everyone in the lurch. Isabel went up and asked one of the houses, and she was mortified when your man said, "What do you think I am, a sewer?" And he turned her away. I guess he might be tormented because he's used to people doing that. But it'd be a decent thing to do. Would you do it? Would you let a woman in to use your bathroom in an emergency situation? I should think you would, right? I should think you would. But yeah. Anyway, I've been counting. Nora says I told the pharmacist in Ballina that it was a hoax. He tried to run me out of the shop. Well, I only said it tonight. I only said it tonight. And again, I'm entitled to my point of view, right, Nora? I'm saying openly that anyone here, I'm not speaking to anybody. You do what you want with your body based on the best advice that you have to on offer. For me, if I'm to be bluntly and blatantly honest, I think the vaccine is a truth serum. I really do. It will be an activator of the junk DNA. So I'm not discouraging anybody from anything. I'm not the spokesman for anyone else. So, but yeah, I've had similar run-ins, Nora, on so many. You can imagine it on numerous occasions in regards to. Well, I read you out some of the rest of the stuff that they were saying because it's hilarious. I should no, I won't do that tonight because it's getting pretty late. But look, they have to fill in a report, and some of it's hilarious. Like, and they do mention me talking about how the corona is a hoax and how he wouldn't. Look, there you go. It's all stupid shit. It's all stupid shit about me just being in the cell, not saying anything, not giving any details, and then them trying to get the details out of me. And the only things I would say, let me say in regards to the King of Era, regular visitors here will know that I am the King of Era, but they'll know why I am the King of Era, right? Because I've explained it many times why you are the King of Era yourself. If you reside, if you reside, we have to be careful about our language. We live on a flat station of the Earth's surface. You are the highest authority on this land. And there's something very special about Ireland as well. It's not special about everything, but something very central and special about Ireland. Remember, it was the bastion of, it was the keeper, I guess, wasn't it? The keeper of records. When Western civilization collapsed, according to the story, Ireland is where, the ember was still, was kept, what would you say? The ember was kept flame. No, kept. Yeah, no, an ember doesn't flame. That kept. I think. But yeah, that's according to the historical story, which is all nonsense, of course. But bleeding is true in a different sense. Things can be false and true at the same time. That's in a literal, in a symbolic sense. If you take something literally true to be true, this is what the Bible literalists are all about, right? If you take something literally true, you give it life. And well, ultimately, I think you're guilty of crafting idols, which is what we're told not to. It's about a belief system, how you interpret words and stories and characters, and how you give an existence, a reality to them outside of the now. So once we come beyond that and see that the whole story is in relation to ourselves and our own journey, our own story, our venture here into the vision, male from female, self from self, and a spiraling passion down the spine, and the earth itself reflecting that internal division and well external as well, male from female. So I think that's the point. But yeah, um, yeah, yeah, plenty of encounters. Nora, absolutely, I have some great stories to tell. Honestly, honestly, it's stupid. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I hate wearing the mask. And I don't wear a mask. I wear a hoodie. not off this thing. I don't know where it came from. Won't wear a mask though. But when I was up in the shop tonight, there was one behind the fucking, what do you call it, the plastic screen, and she's not wearing a mask, and the guy who came in not wearing a mask either. And I fucking had war with them about me wearing a mask. The only reason I go in there is to buy a few cans because I'm banned from the off license below where I didn't wear a mask. And yeah, they kicked up stink. I was wronged again. That's all I can say. It was all got to do with a woman in front of me who objected to no one wearing the mask. There was three Pakistanis at the front of the shop, and I wasn't wearing a mask as well. And I gave her my explanation, and yeah, I don't wear a mask because these are my thoughts going as a hoax, a symbolic hoax. And yeah, they don't like me for that. Then she happened to drop a beer. Honestly, she happened to drop a beer, and she picked it up. And maybe I was thinking she was feeling embarrassed. I said, "No, don't worry, put that back, love, because when you open that, it will crack open all over the place. She don't tell me what to do, so obviously I was the enemy then." And I said, "Okay, fair enough." I said, "Lads, behind the counter," and the Pakistani lads were only looking for change or something as a distraction. I said, "Lads, the lady has a question here. She wants to know why no one's wearing a mask." And then it kicked off from there. I didn't say that was a fair question. She asked me, and now she's not my friend, so she misdirected her question, and anyway, it kicked off from there. But yeah, so that's the only place I wear a mask up here, and also in the post office. But I said it to Mary in the post office as well. They all know it's a hoax, or they all know my thoughts that it is a hoax. And even with did you see Eurovision, Nora, last week? Actually, very interesting as well. The Eurovision qualifiers I was looking at, and they were all gathered around. There was fucking nothing wrong. It was like a great party. There was no masks. There was liquor and laughter and weirdness everywhere, but there was no separation or segregation. Again, how strange, isn't it, when it's been broadcast over the Irish airwaves, where you can't fucking what I don't know what you can do anymore with or without a mask. I go to the garage here tonight and I don't wear a mask, and they know I don't, and they don't say anything to me. I'm the only one who doesn't, or one of the only ones who doesn't. But they know my reasons. They know my point of view. So if I have to wear them, my mother says I'm a hypocrite, but I probably am. I probably am. I told you I get €203 a week on disability allowance. Um, yeah, I didn't like to do. I went without the legal name for years. I didn't like to do that, but that's the only thing I'm. It's a sort of a basic necessity. I think you have to use a legal name in some form or fashion. If I ever decide to get a job, or what to build a career, will I build a career? I could write about 5 books. I'm already going to be famous. Michael Jackson. Let me tell you this: Michael Jackson, Tom York, and Paul McCartney know who I am. They know. I'm telling you, they know who I am. Does that mean anything? No, it doesn't. What could I become famous at? I don't know. Let me think about where I should apply myself. Not famous even, successful at. Let me think about where I should apply myself. But one thing, it won't involve any lies. It won't involve any deception. And in general, when you speak truth, you just tend to lose everybody. Anyone who has a vested interest um, in living, in succeeding, well, they're like the business owner, who's probably a very decent man, like the business owner of the local pub. In a sense, though, shut down the toilets. That's not decent. You should have said leave the toilets open for. But then you have to pay staff to look after the toilets because there's people at the top of the stairs making sure you have a mask as you go in to have a piss. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. It's it's terrible. But I think it's terrible for a reason. It's the keep poking, keep prodding the fucking tiger, keep prodding, and then eventually we're all going to say, "Eff it." Let me tell you something. Down the river, beautiful day, beautiful atmosphere for the most part, and I was just in one particular section. Everyone was doing their own thing. Uh, yeah, no one was wearing a mask. No one was concerned about it. But still, the idea that Corona is not as presented is it's probably common enough to think that everything has been exaggerated. But the idea that it's complete symbolic, not even symbolic, but a complete farce. That still goes down. I'm such a fucking idiot. I'm such a fucking idiot. If someone would just give me a topic to stick on, I could talk about it. But I have a few topics I'm going to talk about. But let me just finish up what I was just reminded of it. I'm actually going to, because it Everton ties in. I always get back to the point ultimately and sort of conclude it and finish it out. My mother got in the windows, and yeah, the whole of the front, none of it's alarmed. So why did you alarm the front? Well, no one's going to break in the front. Okay, I mean, okay, but yeah, all of the back is alarmed. She, in general, has no problem breathing. She knows I have, and the ultimate problem goes back to her, and she doesn't even fucking remember it. I said, do you not remember when I know you got nosebleeds, all right. Well, do you not remember when I had to go to the hospital at that time? They had to call me. Was it? I think it was, yeah, I was desperate here. I went into school and it just wouldn't stop. So I had to be taken to the hospital. So maybe my father who was there, but she didn't even remember it anyway. But all I remember, and I can't have been, what, 6 or 7, something like that. All I remember, I went into hospital. I didn't feel any pain or anything. Just a guy coming over having a look and doing something. Now I reckon he must have stuck a cauterizing instrument up and just zapped it. And oh yeah, off you go. A nice one. Ooh. Yeah, off you go. That'll sort you the problems out. No more bleeding. Well, fucking hell. Well, fucking hell. Wasn't it a fucking torment all my life? Because first of all, I never knew. I never knew. It's only when I could go back when I started playing the guitar again, and I could go back so far with my nail because I wanted to see if I could sort it out. That I saw there was a big build up there. And that's my conclusion that it was cauterized because I know I was there. I got these nosebleeds. Anyway, let's bring you back sort of full circle. So yeah, I can't breathe really, and you can imagine as the weather gets hotter, it's very difficult. I don't know what I'm going to do. But on the silver lining side, then the windows are open at the front, so I can have a smoke. I can roll a joint, and the last one of the night. And you'll never guess when I go to the front, I'm looking at the north. Looking at the north, I see Polaris. I'm not sure. Yeah, I can see Polaris and a different sky than what I'm used to here. We're looking at the south side, which interestingly ties into the third song I sang, which is the Canadian Driftwood, where they headed south, right, looking for a new life, a new way after turmoil and trouble at the north. It's only when they return north, the end. It's all encoded. It's all encoded. What lies at the north? Well, and the word itself is very interesting. North, N-O-R-T-H, N-or-T-H. So make the choice, N or T-H. N, we think of the N in relation to the H, right? A good way of expressing certain things I found, right? Think of the word ever. Think of the word sever. And think of the word never. We're born into sin. So the S and the I and the N have significance. I and the I. I'm in S and N. What does that signify? So the divided state has been signified. When you combine an S with an inverted S, backwards S, what do you get? What do you get? You get an 8, right? 8 is H, H-U man. H-U man, you have the choice. If you go upwards, you go to T. So the two divided aspects are brought together. Crossbar is raised, you have the T. That brings you to T human or TR human, true man. You go downwards, right? Yeah. Once again, the sides are brought together and the crossbar is lowered. Lowered. You have the L on either side. L, L. The lowest aspect in the well, right? So direction counts. Direction. I said direction, I said. Um, anyway, yeah, that was the story. So all of my life it plagued me, and I was a good sportsman. I really was. Like I could have rowed for Ireland. I could have done. I could have played rugby if I was introduced to rugby earlier, or I would have been later on anyway. I would have been a great rugby player, definitely. And especially with all the money that was in just getting going in around whatever, the 2000s. Anyway, that wasn't the way to be. And yeah, and I found out later that this fucking thing's nostrils. And I always knew it. I could never breathe. In my sleep as a young fella, I know one side of my nose was always blocked up, and it was always very uncomfortable. Um, yeah, it's only recently I found out about that. So here's the point about the GoFundMe. So let me get this out of the way now. Yeah, I mean, I've been to see, so everything here on in, I mean, it's obviously indulging, but yeah, been to see a specialist and is in such an over position. That's the point. It wouldn't be, it's just a normal, ordinary GoFundMe. In such an over position that the only way that they can actually get to the scar area is to go the other side. I'm not happy about this either. To go the other side and go all the way up. So that's going to cost a few extra bucks. And, I'm doing well. I made 12 quid today. But in terms of the greater monies needed, um, it doesn't go very far. That'll take me up to probably the beginning of the anus with the whatever instrumentation they need to use. So I'm not happy with that. I don't. I just don't want to. I don't want to leave it there. You know what I mean? So yeah, I hope to go all the way with it and GoFundMe for a good cause. What do you reckon? I never monetized my channel. I never asked for money. I never valued money in that sense. But when it comes to such a sort of heartfelt topic as this is, and of course, my fucking heart is going to feel it if they're coming up from that side. So why can't you just go in that side? It's only 1 inch down. Well, Mr. Sheehan, don't call me Mr. Sheehan. You can call me the King of Air if you want. That's what the cops call me. Actually, they call me the King of Air because as I was getting to the van, they didn't touch me. No one ever touched me. No one asked me to move on or anything like that. As we got into the van, I just made a statement to the world because I knew it. I just said, hey, these people are arresting me here. I'm a bus crew here, as you all know. I did nothing. They're arresting me for doing nothing, not just giving the name and location. I said, I didn't. I would have said this is Pete Shea, but that would have given them a little clue. Then maybe looked up YouTube Pete Shea. Oh, that's him. Yeah. I said, it's King of Era here. I'm the King of Era. Yeah, right. The first time I said that. So that's where they put the cart before the horse, and well, needs must they do that. Anyway, getting back to the GoFundMe, I'm already rich because like four people on at 10,000 euros an hour, 150 hours incarceration. That's like 6 million. I'm a 6 million euro man. Unbelievable. I'd actually hate to do what I'd leave them off. I would leave them off, but I could equally pursue it all the way. And I could equally see all of this gathering a lot of traction. I really could. I really could. Because a lot of people know about this around here. And the cops certainly know about it. I was only up there recently. And I'm thinking about pressing charges now as an individual. But anyway, let's ignore that. Regarding the GoFundMe, yeah, I said, why can't you put the front? Well, Mr. This is very complicated. What happened at the original outset? You could not tell us and inform us. I told you everything I knew. That I was bleeding 1 minute. Some guy stuck a fucking thing up my nose, and that was it. I wasn't bleeding next minute. I had 20 years of misery, 30 years, 40 years of misery after that, and I didn't know. So that was it. He said, just to be on the safe side, we will go up the other end. We don't want to bring you 40 more years of misery. Now do we, Mr. GM? So, yeah, I leave it in your hands, my good friends. Um, I don't need, of course, any monetary GoFundMe. I'm talking about love here. So just send your love my ass's way. That's all. Because of course I'm very nervous. I don't want. That's one of the areas I don't want. Yeah, I don't want things to come out of there. So when someone who speaks like this says assuring me against my better judgment No, this should be going in from top down because it's only down here. But yeah, I'm gonna trust him because he's obviously studied a lot, and he's a white coat, and yeah, so yeah, yeah, the GoFundMe would just be for love and support alone, and I should think that would see me through. The National Health Service here, the HSE will pay for the rest. I have a medical card, so don't worry about that. So kind donations be most welcome. I receive all love through through the ether. How about that? Now, actually, what I do when I hang this, because my mother says at about 3 o'clock, I'll pretend to go to the toilet. I won't be lying really. I'll pretend to go to the toilet, flush the toilet. Actually, I have to use the toilet the way I won't be lying at all. And then I'll go across the way where the windows are fucking wide. Well, I can open them wide, smoke out the front, looking at the north sky, and yeah, smoke this baby. Get back to you then. Maybe play a soft song that I was going to play earlier on, and not keep it out for too much longer. Not getting anything said as well, right? Although before I go, I'm going to present, yeah, what I say once again, the culmination of all of our efforts, and the onus on all of us to solve it or to consider it anyway. What will I play in the meantime? Let me think. Let me see what I have up here. I wonder will I get away with this. Oh, I will. I'll play this, right? So, because it's very significant. Or everything ultimately goes back to Alice in Wonderland, Alice through Looking Glass. But then there's a deeper layer, right, Nora? The wasp in the wig, and well, the missing chapter just before Alice is all of us, and Underland receives her crown, and just after she has the encounter with the White Knight, the clumsy White Knight. So yeah, I think this is significant. So let me share my screen. So yeah, we're left with a riddle to solve from each of the books. Alice in Wonderland, the most famous book for book, most translated book in history. Um, we're left with a riddle from each of the book. The riddle from the first book is why is a raven like a writing desk? We solved the riddle from the second book, which was oyster or I star. So I say personally, this riddle, and this is a part of it. This is the official, in inverted commas, accepted answer. Why the Raven like a writing desk? Because Poe wrote on both. That's insufficient, though. There's more to it. But here is The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, and this is for educational purposes only, and no greater education can be gleaned in potential from this anyway, as it ties into greater clues. My share screen. So I hope you enjoy this, and I hope there's no issues. If there's any issues, I can just cut it out. But in the moment, you can listen to it anyway. Okay, here we go. So while you're doing that, while you're doing that, I'm going to do this. And look at the what do you call it? No way, no way, no way, no way. Look at the look. Oh, and that's so uncanny now. Hang on, that's playing, but it's at 818. 818. I was going to say with just before I go back on this, I was going to say that um, yeah, we're left with one riddle from each of the books here. But we're also left with one riddle from the works of Shakespeare and one riddle from the Bible as well. And 818 is one of the solutions uh, to one of the riddles. So I won't say which, but let me go back to the start here and let me hope that everything is coming through okay.
Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. "Only this, and nothing more." Ah, distinctly I remember.
I just paused it there because I'll be able to hear if it's coming through on the main channel because there seems to be like a minute delay or something. No way. Look. Oh, and that's so uncanny now. Hang on, that's playing, but it's at 818. Well, 818. I was going to say with just before I go back on this, I was going to say that. Um, Yeah, we're left with one riddle from each of the books. We're also left with one riddle from the works of Shakespeare and one riddle from the Bible as well. And 818 is one of the solutions uh, to one of the riddles. So I won't say which, but let me go back to the start here and let me hope that everything is coming through okay. Excellent, that's coming through. So let me start it again. And Nora, I'm delighted to hear it. I am Queen of Air as a descendant of the line of Nuda. Excellent, dear. Excellent. Excellent, Nora. You know who you are. So, yeah. And you know who we all are as well, right, Nora? I should think better than anybody. And tell me this: is that you, the female voice who reads all? I was going to put on the Secret Book of James, which is read by someone else, but is that you, the female voice who read all of these different informative texts? As I think it was called the Female Voice Channel. Excellent if it was. If it wasn't, it's a spitting image of you, and I think you already admitted that it was. So that's brilliant. But you probably were open about it at the time as well. We just didn't realize some brilliant clues. Anyway, let me shut up and put this back on and put it full screen. We have to pay attention. I'll give you the answer when you come back. Give my answer. This is the unofficial answer.
Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. "Only this, and nothing more." Ah, distinctly I remember, it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember brought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly had I sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here, forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now to still the beating of my heart I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly, your forgiveness I implore, but the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping, tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into this darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore?" This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning. Soon again I heard a tapping somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon the bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven. Ghastly, grim, and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore, tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I marveled at this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such a name as nevermore. But the raven sitting lonely on the placid bust spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing further than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Startled by the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, said I, what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, to the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of never, nevermore. But the raven still beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, straight I wheel a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining, that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining the lamplight gloating o'er she shall press, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from some unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, by God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite, respite, and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee or shore. Desolate yet all undaunted on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted. Tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aden, it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked upstarting. Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul, from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor, shall be lifted nevermore.
Whoa, ho, 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 ho. Whoa, isn't that something else? Isn't that something else? Now, getting to the point, hang on, I'm going to listen to that. I should actually read that. I might read that the next time. We're into a fresh month again. Fresh month, and seemingly nothing happening, but nothing never happens. Right? As opposed to nothing ever happens. Nothing never happens. There's this thing as nothing. Um, no thing new under Aristarchus. That's a T-shirt. That T-shirt would sell millions. Picture of that. Nothing new, and picture of Aristarchus on the front. Aristarchus is here anyway. Aristarchus is everywhere, but a picture of Aristarchus with its full reveal would sell millions. Not interested in that. I could read about 5 books and all of this, but this is very interesting. So, you might think this is all vague, and it is in a sense, but getting to the root of it, um, well, the root of it, well, it's an insufficient answer, isn't it? Why is a raven like a writing desk? Because Poe wrote on both. Now we just heard the raven itself. What is a raven? A raven is a psychopath, and yeah, I would be very interested now. Let's make a note to read that next time. I'll write that down actually. I should rely more on paper because at least you have that as a hard copy. All the stuff I wrote over the years is on a hard drive there. I'm sure that it can be got back, but you have to pay excess money. So at some point I'll retrieve because I have loads of songs as well and so much stuff over 7 or 8 years, 10 years worth almost. Not maybe not that long, 8, 7, 8, 13, 8, yeah, 8 years anyway. But I have no access to it now until I can do that. But yeah, I should keep notes more because I kept notes all the years. I write songs. When a lyric comes to you, you tap it down. When a thought comes to you, you write it down. Poem, something like that. So I have plenty of books and little notes made over the years. But yeah, I'm going to be reading that next time, which might be sooner than you think because I have nothing covered tonight. Although, yeah, I'm not going to put the link in chat because it's 2:34 here, so that's pushing it. What I am going to do though is end by introducing you to the well, it's already part of the greater puzzle. Let me before I introduce you to what I think is the culmination of all, and well, it's the ultimate puzzle that puts all the pieces together and will give you an ultimate solution. I have an idea, like the last time, of what the answer is going to be, but it'll be interesting to work our way through it. And I hope we can do this at a sort of collective level. I'm in no rush as well. And maybe I'll devote the next show. So at the end of tonight's viewing, it's just a man here sitting down with his guitar. I'm going to play a song before I go, a very soft song, which I was going to play tonight, but I'll play now. In a bit. Yeah. Yeah. As everything connects, the raven here is a. Yeah, I just made a note. I'll be reading that the next time. And yeah, so just take the puzzle out of the way before I present it and talk about it for a few minutes. I'll only talk about it for a few brief minutes. I'll leave it for you to mull over and well, come up with some ideas for the next time. I certainly have our starting point sorted, and I haven't spent much time at all on it. But again, I'm not rushing it. All of this connects. So let's bring it back to the raven. It's insufficient to ask that puzzle for it to last throughout the ages. And this be the unofficial, it's listed as just the generally accepted answer is that what is one of the greatest riddles of all time? Why is a raven like a writing desk? Because Poe wrote on both. Okay, that's fair enough. Why is a hobbit like a writing desk? Oh, because fucking Tolkien wrote on both. Nice one. Why is a horse like a writing desk? Because it's not. I was thinking Enid Blyton wrote. No, Enid. Did she write Black Beauty? No. So you know what I mean. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. There has to be a sort of coherence and a balance to it. The one answer, yeah, it has to be specific. And like with all of these clues, you always know when you're correct because I'm speaking from experience here, especially going back to the solving of the hidden puzzle on the 2015 Economist magazine. There'll always be two pointers to let you know that you're correct and you're on the right path. When you have the answer anyway, it always helps to have the answer before you go in, which in my case was the case. I knew the answer was going to be the dodo, and it turned out to be the dodo and Mauritius. So, yeah, I knew as well that wasn't the end of it. So there's more to that story. But how it connects here, let me tell you. So, yeah, Edgar Allan Poe wrote on boat is not sufficient, but it's a clue for us. And if we listen to the raven here, we listen to the greater tale being told, Eleanor. This is ultimately about, well, the raven being a psychopath. The man is dying. The man is dying, and he's dwelling on love, right? The love, the memory. He's dwelling on the memory, and his soul is nevermore. I can, yeah, I'm not gonna delve too deeply into it because I haven't read it before. I've just listened to this a few times, and that's why I have it up because I want to listen to it again. But I didn't look at the visuals, but some of the visuals are very interesting as well. Did you see the raven on the cross? So ultimately, PJ will give you what I think is the solution, and if it has been, and of course it's known, but I don't think it's publicly known. If you search the answer anywhere, you won't find this answer, and if you do, um, either it traces back to me because I've said it out of many different places in the past, or it's coming from a source that I don't know anyway. But a raven is a psychopomp, which is a guide, a final guide to the spiritual realm, the realm we all enter after death. And there's an interesting word raven, as you looked at it on the screen, Raven. Heaven is Heaven. Remember I pointed out about the head, Head, the heart, Heart, and the heel, Heel. Once again, the El and the El and Or. El is a Jewish god as well, more specifically, Lord God, who appears suddenly in Genesis 2. So, yeah, Lord, when we look at the words themselves, they're most revealing, L or D. So every letter is gauged in relation to two letters, the H and the E, right? Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. That's not true. Every letter is gauged in relation to two letters, which is the H and the O, I should say. Because there's the curve right in the straight, and there's a one and a zero. And yeah, if we look at the word raven anyway, you can notice that Raven, heaven is Heaven, avenger is Avenger. So the significance in all of these letters and their particular arrangement. But not to delve too deeply, maybe I'll go into it more when I read it, and I'll get more from it as well. And I'll definitely be looking back at this because I didn't look at the visuals before, but it just confirms what I think is the answer. I'm sure is the answer anyway. Why is a raven like a writing desk? Because both have the last word. It's very simple and very elegant once you understand the significance of the raven, which is, well, the ultimate last word. On your deathbed, you encounter a raven who will guide you into the unknown, right? So, yeah, he has the last word and the last say in where, well, where your power ends. So, yeah, and of course, anything written on a writing desk, anything completed has a last word. Uh, so perfect. But getting well beyond that, yeah, that's the puzzle solved from Alice in Wonderland. Alice Through the Looking Glass, the puzzle solved was Oyster or I Star. Now, there was a hidden, or not a hidden, a discarded chapter, which is The Wasp in the Wig. And I've talked about this before, and the Channel 4 version of Alice in Wonderland, going back to the 80s, I think it was, where they decided to include the chapter The Wasp in the Wig, which fit in right after. This is Alice Through the Looking Glass, who's making her way up the chessboard, remember, which is very significant. 8 times 8. Oh, that's brilliant as well, because there's two puzzles we have to work on, but I'll bring up both of them. But yeah, chessboard is significant in it. And yeah, Channel 4 decided to include the omitted chapter, which was called The Wasp and the Wig. And there, Alice encountered the wasp beneath a huge, massive, bifurcated tree, a tree cut in half. So it's this discarded chapter that well, the structure is built. The greater structure is built. So it's in that sense a greater game of clues. Um, oh yeah. So isn't that very interesting? Isn't that very interesting? And these are not just trivial matters. These are puzzles that have lasted the ages. And if book for book, I read it in, you'll find different links, you'll find different, details, you'll find different sources. But I read it in one particular link that the three most translated books earthwide were the Bible, first of all, the works of Shakespeare, and Alice in Wonderland. Now, when we consider the Bible is 66 books, interesting there, right? Um, and apparently 22 books were left out, so that brings it up to 88. Isn't that more interesting still? And then, of course, you have all of the rest of the books, including all the books that were found in caves here and there, and conveniently sort of supported the official stories and everything. How convenient, right? Anyway, yeah, this works of Shakespeare, we found out here 38, 37, 38 books. Alice in Wonderland, Alice Through Looking Glass, two books. So, book for book, these books were really the most significant. And coming to the conclusion as well that they're all written by the same hand. Well, then therein lies the rub. Therein lies the rub. And we know we're coming close to the end of the ultimate puzzle, which, well, bifurcated tree, all roads lead to Aristarchus, but that's the I star, R I star, I star. Oyster is the solution to the White Queen's riddle to Alice before she receives her crown, following chapter 7, which is chapter 8, if my memory serves me. But therein is, again, the key. The discarded chapter, The Wasp in the Wig, was set to fit in just after chapter 7 and before chapter 8 when Alice received her crown. So this is the pivotal. This is the pivotal point. But I've been to all of this before. But isn't it most interesting? Yeah, that's what I should do. If I think of something, I should just make a brief note of it, and that'll remind it of as I was out for I was out having the smoke. Fuck off. The northern sky is purple, and the southern sky is green. And I was only talking to Jack today. I mentioned Jack a few times. He's a Vedic practitioner, a lovely guy, absolutely lovely guy, and straight up, we have we have our different points of view on things, but I differ from everybody. I'm coming from a different aspect. I say the truth is within us all. You think you have to go to a master, which is fair enough. We all learn via certain pathways, but I think the truth is within us all, is ready to come out, as opposed to the other way around, is to come out from or to come in from outside. But I mentioned him before to pay attention to the sky, and yeah, there's a green hue to it. And he said, no, he's noticed the purple hue to the sky. I said, okay, I've noticed it myself, but not consistently. Because now I think about it, I'm only looking pretty much at a certain aspect of the southern sky, and it's been green in terms of my peripheral view. But as I was at the window tonight, there's the purple sky in all its glory. So yeah, we have the purple, which represents, right? It's actually colors of the rainbow. So we have green at the center. Green is the heart. We have green. The heart is mended, but green leaning towards purple, which is the H and the T, which is the TH, which funnily enough turns out to be the philosopher's stone, the S tone. Everything connects. Kings and queens were mentioned earlier on. Kings and queens are mentioned often on a chessboard in Alice in Wonderland. Interesting to consider the equivalence between the mental, well, I, yeah, I think of the word. I think it's too late here anyway. I'm not blaming that. I have a word in mind, but it's the pinnacle of mental. Um, Look at it's chess. It's the game of chess. It's the very core of the mind. The power of the mind is brought to bear. The opposite then, and the chess we have the most powerful piece is the queen and the king, with the 64 squared black and white. You have the 16 pieces, each with a specific duty, each with a specific place. But the most important piece on the board is the king. The king must be protected, but the most powerful piece is the queen. Now, isn't it interesting? Again, these are in terms of mental realms, immaterial realms, thought realms, if you want. And then we have the opposite, which is the material realm, which is the boxing ring. All boxing rings are square, so it's called a ring for a reason. When the bell rings, right, it seconds out. So some very interesting terms are used, and the more I go on, the more I reckon that the more, like for instance, motor racing, the more popular the sport, the more advertised, the more presented. The greater the numbers that are exposed to it, the greater the coding within it. So if we're on that pathway, I guess we can look here. We can look at it. It's becoming more and more obvious as well. You have to decide ultimately where you're going to decide to look, what matters here, and when I talk about this sort of stuff, Alice in Wonderland, in that sense, then becomes the most significant book in history. Would you agree? Book for book, translated, it's the most exposed book, and all for a reason. Look at all the movies that have been made about Alice in Wonderland over the last 10 years. There's so many, counting them. Someone came along to you and said, "You can make an Alice." No, 4 people have made an Alice in Wonderland movie there in the last 2 years. I'm not going to try this out again. Go for something different. No, not to mind the number of video games, the number of references throughout music. Everything's been brought back ultimately to the significance of these 2 books. And wow, I've made some great progress, haven't I? in all of these, what do you call it? In all of these areas. Any new progress, I will of course let you know. But for the most part, yeah, there's a lot to detail. Not to mind, well, first of all, the significance of the hidden chapter, not the discarded chapter, which ultimately leads to, the divided tree of life, which is ultimately Aristarchus, but also the hidden, or not the hidden, the lost plate, the lost original etching from John Tenniel. Out of 92, one was lost, and all of the original etchings in this most famous books, and original etching wood carvings from which the cartoons were made, the animations were made. All of them were recovered, following a long story, elaborate story, but one to the point when the article was written anyway, which is not too long ago, was still missing. And all of the versions that you saw of the original Alice in Wonderland featured 91 original prints, but one was always a copy. And and deemed missing the history. Well, Pete Shea found it, and what it revealed was something extraordinary, which was that ultimately Paul/Fall McCartney is the dodo, and it's to be found under the dodo's wing, a picture of Paul/Fall. I don't want to get into that because the book was written in 1968. The Beatles were 1860 or 1850, whatever. The Beatles were in 1960s. How could this be possible? Well, if it's all scripted from the start, right? If the story is written and the play is being played out, these characters are inserted where needed. And I don't need to go into that again. But what a wonderful revelation. And they know it as well. They know it. Everything is recorded. Way back in the day, I used to get more people listening and watching, and I used to put a little bit more effort into it as well, just into the specifics, and I revealed some amazing things. Will Smith is Barack Obama. Get out of here. Seth MacFarlane is Elon Musk. Come on. Jesus. Seth MacFarlane, actually, Elon Musk, presented the Saturday Night Live show recently, and he came out as a character called Wario. And I reckon if you put Seth MacFarlane and Elon Musk side by side, you're going to see a giveaway. So you have First of all, Seth MacFarlane, who is he? He's another Will Smith character. He's born for the role. That's not who he really is. Seth, first of all, the biblical significance. MacFarlane. So you know what I mean. He's a character from the start. It's like Bill Hicks. So Bill Hicks was never born Bill Hicks. He was, crafted into Bill Hicks. Someone else playing the role. Seth MacFarlane has that Kennedy look about him, but um, yeah, he appeared many times on Saturday Night Live, and yeah, if he is Seth MacFarlane, sorry, if Seth MacFarlane is Elon Musk, and Elon Musk is presenting Saturday Night Live dressed up as this warrior character acting a part, well, because Seth MacFarlane is fundamentally an actor on all accounts, yeah, maybe we'll be able to pick up on. I'm not even bothered to go through it. I haven't even seen the clip. I just heard it on IPS and I've heard a brief, what do you call it? But could it be? Could it be? I dare you to do it yourself. 100% I'm certain Barack Obama and Will Smith are one and the same. I'm giving it 92% Seth MacFarlane. That's gone up again. I'm going to say 94% at this stage. Seth MacFarlane has always played the role of Elon Musk. And I can, so many different connections I can make. Back to ARISTARCHUS, Elon Musk, Starman. Seth MacFarlane played the role of a character called Albert Stark in the movie A Million Ways to Die in the West in 2014. So Seth MacFarlane also had the sci-fi series Orville. Um, Subconsciously, we know everything. This is my whole point here. So they have to disguise the truth, but ultimately they know we see true. But they just have to disguise it and confuse us until, well, ultimately, well, we get it. We get it, or at least that's what they're hoping for, I'm thinking. We're always going to figure this stuff out. Where else does it lead is the question. Once you identified that there is a play in place, there is actors on all fronts. Okay, that's fair enough. Well, where do you go from there? Where do you go from here? And I'll tell you where I go from here. Oh, let me give you the name of the professor, by the way. Um, so, Pakistani professor. I said, "What's your name, professor?" He said, "Well, because remember I told you." Remember, I told you like he was insisting on going the other way to get to the top of the nose and have a look at that affected area and maybe clear out all the gunk. Because he was actually, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Very much clearer. I sleep much better, and it's still a little bit because the vein itself must have collapsed, must have just burned. So there's only a certain amount of healing that can be done. But anyway, yeah, I'm still considering everything. But he introduced himself as. Professor, Pakistani man. What's your name, Professor? He said, Professor Gundalong. I said, Professor Gundalong, way round. Gundalong way round. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Professor Gundalong way round, for your help. And, this was just, I didn't strip off anything. He didn't see my butt. He wasn't insistent in that way. So I said, I'll get back to you. And we sort of shook hands. Well, we didn't shake hands. We sort of went like that. All right, bud. And yeah, he was behind the mask. So as far as I was concerned, actually, he's a Pakistani from. I could be wrong. Pakistani from here around, but I didn't see it. Just pure white underneath here. I actually saw a guy today. The suntan lounges are reopening up, and there's big queues outside for people to go in. There's a guy today. He must have fucking spent hours and hours that he passed by. An Irishman. He was just like a fucking, what do you call those? I don't know what way to put it. Like a gingerbread man. He was like a gingerbread man. That's not quite so dark, but yeah, and it would look totally off. So I'm just going, I'm just trusting Professor. Let me just get his name again. Professor Gundalong Wayrund. Gundalong Wayrund. Okay, Professor Gundalong Wayrund. So yeah, I was very happy for his help, and as I said, the GoFundMe is in full swing. So just don't worry about an address or anything like that. Just send your love and support. I guess to me, or more specifically to my sort of anus area, if you want, just because that would be Professor Gunn the long way around is most interested in. So before I go, let me just let me post the Let me share my screen for the last time, actually. And listen, I'm sorry about chat. You can know the story by now. I'll read a few comments before I go. Actually, that's what I'll do. I'll read a few comments and I will post the greater puzzle we're all set to work on. It's the 2021. Okay. It's the 2021 Economist cover magazine. Actually, I'm going to get a. And I'll start you off. I'll give you a start, and I'll tell you exactly where I am. Maybe not exactly where I am, but I'll tell you to a good degree where I am, and leave you ponder it. And the next time I'll make a proper effort specifically on this. So tonight is just an introduction to what I say is very much the culmination of it all. So let me just and while I'm there, I can bring this up. Okay. I'll bring up the. Okay, I'll just share my full screen. I'll bring up the full. I'll bring up the 2021 for. Hang on, I have it up already. Okay, here it is. Here it is, friends. So hopefully you can see that. Let me zoom in a small bit. A few things to know to begin with. Oh, it's not good enough. I want to get it in full screen because you don't need to bring up your own version. A few things to know just to begin with. I'm not going to dwell too long on this. So as I said, this is just an introduction. And all hands on board for this one. A few things to know to begin with. As we enter on the right this time, as opposed to 6 years ago where we entered on the left, now we're maybe in the right mind. We can see a globe Earth, right? Can you see the globe Earth at the top of the handle? We know another thing. This is called a one-armed bandit. One-armed bandit. Well, I mentioned the Bible, the works of Shakespeare, Alice in Wonderland. It's all about the hidden hand. Hidden hand, the one-armed bandit. The world in 2021. If you consider 20 times 21 is 420, and 420 is said to be God's gift to man. Well, then, if you look at the bottom of the screen, we can see an illuminated aspect. So not just my thoughts, my guess, my certainty is we begin on the right, so everything is inverted, and we've got to move down and move up and find our way through the maze until we reach the green, the other side, or find a way down, find a way towards illumination at the bottom, because everything is inverted. Now I have a starting point. There's some very interesting symbols here, and this symbol is most interesting, isn't it? The burning tree. Right adjacent to Earth as well, but we notice the arrows pointing. So this is a puzzle for all of us, and I'll ask you to download your own copy. I will give you a clue. I've already given you a clue. I'm talking to, especially people who followed me through the solution to the hidden puzzle on the 2015 cover. Right? So yeah, the clue is we start on the right this time, and the ball Earth at the top. So this is sort of the end. We've come past that, right? We've greater knowledge now. We understand that the ball Earth, the spinning ball Earth is metaphor, spinning ball as well, and all the reels spin. We have to assume another few things, that each reel is identical to each other reel. We've got to figure out how many symbols are there per reel then, and just as sort of basic considerations. I keep telling myself we're just a continuous basis, but especially in these sort of things as well, just simplify everything. It's something like a path a child could follow, but not really as well. A child wouldn't be as sort of sophisticated, but it would be a simple route through if you had the context right. And let me give you a clue to begin with then. It's down at the start. As we make our way down and across, we're faced with an instruction, which is to insert stimulus funds, which we can all understand that. It's like a funny joke. Yeah, yeah, I get that. But there's more to it. Insert, I don't know what that word is. I'll have to get a clearer version there. Well, I don't know what that is. That'll probably turn out to be important later on. But insert stimulus funds, right? So where do we start? Uh, all interesting. You have to take note of everything. Don't rush anything. I'm certainly not going to rush anything. I have an idea what the answer is going to be, but I'm not going to rush anything. I haven't got there yet. We have arrows again. So if we look at the different symbols on the screen, can we line up arrows anywhere? And if we begin looking for to start the game to line up stimulus funds, well, let me put it like this: we need something on the up and up that indicates something on the up and up, and we have a few options here. So what might fit with the arrows in mind as well? This is the center pay line. Yeah, I'm not going to dwell too much on that, only because it's an introduction. Let me reduce it down to size again. The world in 2021. The Economist magazine cover. Download it yourself, and I'm certain. Well, I have a few other things worked out, but yeah, that would be my clue to you to begin with. So find which symbol represents a stimulus fund, and sort of start there. And remember, follow the pointers, and make it sort of childlike and a childlike mind going to this. And ultimately, I think we end up down here with illumination, but we will understand exactly the pathway. And it will, everything, remember once again, everything, once it's correct, it will be clarified in two ways. And yeah, there has to be a coherence about it all, and a beauty about it all as well, because, well, here we are in the end game, and here we have illumination, illumination at the end, right? Unbelievable. I was just talking about illumination, Illuminati, and an interesting question for us as well. Illuminati, what do you make of it when you reverse the word? Of course, we're all of us in Wonderland. So, yeah, enlightened. We have to be aware of the false light, though, and I've mentioned this many times. The false light is the visible light. We have to understand we're in a what do you call it? A broken divided system, and this is where the green light comes into it as well. By the way, Eden has come to us, the green veering towards the purple, so the journey upwards, the T and the H, and yeah, the sky alone tells us we've made it, doesn't it? Doesn't it? More and more people are seeing these things. Anyway, let me bring up so this is the other puzzle. I think they're connected. And remember I was mentioning the chessboard in Alice in Wonderland. This is very chessboard-like. And funny enough, there's 63 pieces, and there's one piece missing. And I haven't spent time in this now, but I guess everything in its own time. Another thing, I reckon when we start here is with Trump pointing, right? So he's pointing this way. And how do we know that Trump is the starting point? It will be clarified. There'll be a coherence to the reasoning that will be undeniable. But if we just look underneath, first of all, we see lots of things pointing up to Trump. But Trump is on the first row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? 1 and 6. 1 and 6 is 8 and 8. And yeah, not to get into that as well, I'm pretty certain that's the starting point. So where does it end up? Now, it's interesting to note, and I think everything for a reason, absolutely everything in our lives is for ultimate reason. because, well, our existence is beyond reason alone. But 2015, let me just briefly bring up let me put that full screen for a second, just to give you a look at that. Let me bring up briefly the 2015, or 2015. Here we go. Here we go. So once again, 3 years to 2018, 3 years then to 2021. So I think that's significant. And here we have, well, we've already worked our way through this puzzle. Look, and it's clear as day. No one else, I don't think worldwide has picked up on this. Is that strange or not? If someone has, I can't see how they have come up to the right solution. How would they know? How would they know? How could they do it? How could they do it? I can't see. I just can't see. That's why flat Earth provides so much context for everything. But if you look at the Pied Piper on the left, pointing you downwards, follow the Pied Piper child in a childlike mind, Putin, pointing you downwards as well, just to clarify. Remember, I was saying there's two clarifications that you're in the right direction. But here we are. Where are they pointing you to? The boy with the airplane pointing at the ball, which is pointing at the panda. And if you look at the panda's belly, you have the arrows pointing upwards. If you look at underneath the panda's legs, it forms an arrow pointing upwards. So once again, you know you're going in the right direction. All the way up to Angela Merkel, right? Do you go left? You can't go left. You get cut to bits, like a child, as I said. This cartoon is associated. You can imagine all the conspiracy talk that led from that, all the bollocks. When we have Alice overlooking everything, look, telling us that, yeah, that's all theater. These are all actors. There's fucking Will Smith in the middle. Wouldn't recognize him. You wouldn't even barely recognize him as Barack Obama. But anyway, as we go up the left arm, well, once again, if we continue on, we end up at Barack Obama's fingertips, which is going nowhere. But we notice that his shadow is overlaying his body. So we go up the left arm and follow the shadow, which is pointing us over this way to this character. Anyway, I don't want to go over all that again. Ultimately, we're pointed up along. We can't go this way because it's red here, stop. Come down where the hairstyle in the center meet and point downwards as we follow the thread down to Spider-Man. Ultimately, down to the image here, Spider-Man is going out the left. We're down to the image where the hand, you see the hand here is pointing down. So we come to the intersection, pointing down with the hand again, the hidden hand, which is, look, 11.5 and 11.3 is 8.8, which is HH, it's a hidden hand. The image is reversed. And we are Alice, all of us in Underland. So when the image is reversed, it's looking at Alice. Alice is looking at the cat. The cat is sitting on a branch that's pointing underneath Barack Obama's legs. Barack is telling you that look at the 33s on his pant leg. He's telling you you're close to the solution, and herein lies the solution, which is ultimately it's a condom. The island is Reunion Island, and the neighboring island is Mauritius. It's a holiday destination, and Dodo is actually encoded in the front cover of the holiday brochure there, which features a tropical island. So the answer is Dodo and Mauritius. What is the answer to? Well, the turtle is missing his payload. This is the start of the image. The turtle is missing his payload. We know the fact is not fact is fiction, fiction fact. But yeah, this is all theater. So truth is in the movies, truth is in the cartoons, and real life is the stagecraft, is the stage play. Well, the world's a stage. So yeah, looking to Alice, who's overlooking all of this, the greater significance lies with her and what she, which is us, all of us, represent. Alice is queen, and you are queen. If you're a female, you are the highest authority. You're representative of your kind, and this is your dominion, and you are queen of your land. No one has any authority, and no one has higher authority over you except the Creator. That's all. That's all. You were given true dominion of this land, and we were deceived out of it. But, well, the times they are changing. If we look beyond and we leave things in the Creator's hands, as was always meant, um, if we look beyond, the turtle represents, well, not, see, I could talk for ages about this, but the turtle is missing his payload ultimately. When we come away from the certainty of science, right? When we come away from the giants of science, and we look into mythology, and we look into this allegorical representation. We have the turtle with the elephants and the disc earth. Well, we have the disc earth here, right? First of all, we have the turtle. Is there elephants nearby? Been through this before as well. There fucking certainly is. There's an elephant here. Look, in the reflection between the disc earth and the turtle. There's the eye. It's vague, but if you're interested, you'll see it. There's the trunk, and there's the ear. So now the disc earth, well, what does it represent? It represents the layout of the land, a map of the earth. That's what it represents. If we have elephants, if we have a turtle, what animal will represent the layout of the land? It has to be an animal for consistency. Well, this is where the dodo comes into matters. So the dodo sits on the back of it. That'd be a brilliant T-shirt as well. The dodo on the back of on the elephants and the back of the giant turtle. The turtle represents longevity, self-containment, saline waters beyond or surround. The elephants represent memory, longevity, and strength. The turtle, or so the dodo bird, then represents, well, this divided state of us, first of all, and the divided state of Earth, which manifests in terms of the map of Earth, the plan view of the tree, the stump of the tree, as it juts above the invading waters. So that's what the dodo represents. And yeah, that tree itself, didn't know it back then. I knew the dodo was significant, but yeah, shortly afterwards I came to Aristarchus realization. I first thought about Tycho, but no, I settled down. I knew all the craters on the moon were a reflection, a kaleidoscopic reflection expression of one crater. If you folded everything in on itself, you would get one thing. So I thought that was Tycho first of all, but no, now I understand, as it's named, as it's detailed. In one way, every crater on the moon is the one crater, but Aristarchus is the name chosen. And I think, I haven't made a good enough case for that to be so convincing, but but I've certainly talked extensively about it in the past. And if something is true, you see, I don't need to make a good enough case about it. I could write 5 books on all of this, but yeah, I don't need to make a good enough case. If you're on a treasure hunt and you find different treasures along the pathway, ultimately leading towards the ultimate treasure, you don't have to make a case for it because there's a different game in play. The answer is already known, you see. So anyway, yeah, so that's the 2015 to 2018 has to be connected. It is connected, absolutely, and I haven't even looked at this. I'm a shit researcher. I haven't, I haven't delved a little bit into this, and I've made a little bit of progress just by following the arrows, following the pointers again, and having that greater sort of awareness and significance in mind. You might say if flat Earth doesn't matter. Well, it matters ultimately. If Earth is not a spinning ball, but then you've been lied to all your life. And if you've just been lied to this about this massive thing, what else have you been lied to? Everything. So if you're aware and if you're true and genuine and you care, but then you're going to object deeply and you're going to see ultimately how flat Earth matters. And even if you don't see, it still matters. Still matters, and it's only a matter of time before you recognize it matters, because ultimately it reflects on you yourself and who you are. Okay, so that's the 2018. But for next week, for next class, children, we'll focus on the 2021. Once again, there's the ball earth. So the ball earth theme. Let me show you where the ball earth. How about that? Comes into play here. Look at it up at the top of the sky. What the heck is there a two-faced ball earth doing it in the sky? Again, yeah, the earth is reflected in the sky because, well, Aristarchus is the earth. It's the tree stump that we live on. It's the land, right? And yeah, its core, its exposed core, the bell, remember some of the bell earth is emanating from the North Center. So everything is part of earth. Um, we have become universally separated in our thinking. Earth is just a small blue dot in the midst of a massive sea of, you know, blah, 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 blah. Well, what if the opposite is true? What if Earth is everything? And in fact, Earth is everything. Yeah. And everything is transmitted via metaphor. That's why I come up with a new term, metaphorsics. We live in a metaphysical reality where metaphor calls the shots. You know, this is how truth is transmitted. It's metaphorsics. Yeah, I think that's about it. I better leave it there. And I'm going to do some thinking about this myself. I'm going to read you. I'm going to read you some of the hilarious. I'll start much earlier next time. I'll probably start about 7 or 8 because getting a little bit serious. I knew I was only on for a few hours, so I'm just what do you call it? I'll read you some of this hilarious stuff next time. And let me while I still have that on the screen here. Let me just go through a few comments. See if I do that now. That will disappear, won't it? Okay. Let me just say, okay, sorry if I missed any comments. Listen, next time, tell me what I keep getting the name in, but I'd like to, how you doing, first of all? And yeah, join in. So let's, anyone join in next time. There's some great chats with people. Pick a specific topic, and, well, everything's reducing down to a few narrow topics, isn't it, at the moment? And we've got to get sort of all aspects of our thinking clear. Let me say how you doing. If you want to join next time, maybe the next few days. Let's see. Read a few of your comments. Looks like the hidden hand says, "Get rich or get injected." Same old tired story of history. Yeah, man, it's mad. It's mad what's going on. It's mad how it's all going to pan out. I mean, I said it to my brother today, Andrew. I mean, we're either saved or we're doomed. There's no two ways about it. You know what I mean? For the thinking person, anyway, you can sort of you can get you can get by, I guess, knowing that everything's a fucking lie and that all of this corona maybe have just been a front to, garner absolute power and have a new world order, which is always in play, put into place. Absolutely, that's absolutely a real possibility. And why wouldn't you be led there by all of the different offerings that have been presented? Mainstream, and remember, computer is the mainstream. So yeah, you can go down that path if you want. I choose not to. That's not our future. That's not on the cards. That's not on the cards. The farce has been revealed, and yeah, I said them all the dates earlier on, but not quite. 25th, the 21st of June, and to the 25th, 3 full days later, after the 21st ends, the 25th, which is a half year, 6 months exactly after the 25th of December, which is when division was birthed. So this is the height of the summer solstice, and yeah, it's the 21st solstice of the 21st century. Isn't that interesting? And we're talking about the slot machines there. 777, of course, is a winning line, and yeah. Oh, I have to get more into this myself. Not more into it. I understand it, but um, I mentioned it earlier on about the word ever, sever, and never. So seven is another clue for us. Seven. Well, hang on. Seven isn't even. So S has done something to an even number to what sever it from its kind, which is the opposing kind, which is odd. Well, not quite. is 0, odd, or even. So that's the exception, but that's a different matter. So that's our clue as well. Do you understand? That's our clue. Nine is another very good one. Nine with the two N. But yeah, anyway. Yeah, man. I mean, listen, Atonement, I don't pretend that anyone else is sort of speaking along the lines I speak. I don't pretend that. And I don't go anywhere for, not that I don't go anywhere for clues, ideas. I shouldn't say that. Well, I don't specifically, but I listen to IPS on Infinite Plane, Tim Osman. And if you're not listening to Tim Osman, you're missing out then if you haven't been. I'm sure you are, Nora. You listen to Tim Osman all the time. Do you remember he came on the scene with the I am Mark Sargent? I reckon he's taken over. I reckon if I'm Sherlock Holmes, he's my Moriarty in a sense because he definitely knows more than what he's letting on. And I'm on his Discord. I haven't been on a few days. I might go on tomorrow. But I've been presenting lots of stuff that he definitely should be interested in, and the rest of the crew should be interested in, but they're not following him, especially considering that he has a Metascript decoded book just published. So, but anyway, not to get into it, he took over from Mark Sargent as the chief clue giver. Mark Sargent Prepper was, of course, a pointer to Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, which was a walkthrough Alice in Wonderland, back to Alice in Wonderland again. And the Beatles, let me say that. George, so Paul McCartney is the dodo. Who are the rest of the characters? Well, John is the Jesus-like character. In Spanish, CHUS, because is a diminutive or shortened version of the name Jesus. We have band members George Harrison, Harrison, and Ringo Starr. I think within all of the Beatles, you'll find the Dodo and ARISTARCHUS. What do you reckon? What do you reckon? So, yeah. And then we spot. Uh, Tom, you probably said this ages ago. Anyway, I'm up for going to build an igloo and wait this ordeal out. Well, where you going? Where you going to be in your back garden, right? They're setting up fireworks here in the States in memory of War Day. Okay, man. Well, I wonder where about you are in the States, but I think I don't know what to say to that. I think there's a deeper meaning behind everything. These things are put prominently in your face will sort of ring home, I guess, when everything is revealed. So I don't see it, even though I kind of see it as dark as you see it there, but I don't ultimately. I don't ultimately. That's why I'm saying I can't go on with dates anymore. I know that, but at the same time, I know where to go. I know where to go if it does get actually Talmud. I don't like calling you that because I get confused. First of all, I know you're offended if I call you Talmud, but it's just a slip, right? But Talmud, yeah, I have an idea. I mentioned Mauritius earlier on. And there's definitely many sort of pathways to get to the North Centre, which will be underground. I'm sure of it, certain of it. But the, to me, Eden has come to us. So we're just in, yeah, Eden has come to us. Imagine, well, fucking hell no. I mean, what is it? Look after yourself, fuck everyone else, sort of thing. Is that? Or what if you found a way? You found a way to get out and go. Well, don't tell anyone about that. Yeah, and you go. Oh yeah, well, I go off and have a great life, and everyone else is fucked inside. Not good, is it? That doesn't wash. Doesn't wash. We're all equally deserving of everything in a sense. We're the ones who've been um, what colluded against. The massive conspiracy is against us, the living man, and our true position, our true standing. Another interesting word, standing. ST. Aristarchus. RIST. Us. Right. So I and us were the same. Me are you, not Meru. Me are you. RISTRCHS. So remember, everything revolves around the H and the O. Look at the C and in relation to the O. If you put a C and a C backwards, you get an X. If you put them facing forward, you get the O, right? X's and O's. So everything's related to H and O. But yeah, CH goes to ST. CHRIST, Christ. So Aristarchus is an anagram of Christ's aura. That's an instruction. It's an instruction within the word itself. So once we understand the letter, remember the S itself, sever, right? We're not just cut down the center. We are divided in a spiraling spiral, like spine, spine, anagram of penis, penis. Very close in terms of pineal, pineal. So there's that connection established. Spine is the straight line. Then we have the curve, and well, ultimately everything coming back to us. In this very center of the word Aristarchus is this tar, and arise tarchus, which is our instruction. Arise, all the tar has fallen down since we've been cut apart, since we've been divided, Adam from Eve, male from female counterpart. In the female, it's pulled in the breasts, although my breasts are getting big, as I mentioned earlier on. Anderson's down to beard, but I think there's more to it than that as well, and everything's balancing out. But yeah, in the females, it's the breast. In the males, it's the testicle. Once that gap is bridged, well, then the wonder of wonders comes into being. So, okay. Right, Nora. Well, yeah, yeah. I don't wear a mask, but I showed you what I wear when I have to. And I always give out about it. But if you're going to use the thing, then you have to do it. But I've said it, and I've made my objections clear, and I use it as minimal as possible. But of course, I sing my song regularly. As I said when I was singing today, a man gave me a fiver, which is brilliant, and yeah. But my mother still says I'm a hypocrite, and I guess, yeah. So you go back. So the king of Air pissed himself. I wasn't the king of Air then. On a train from Greenwich. That's true. That's true. And I'll tell you something else. Another story. This is equally true. Uh, we must have been wherever we were. Me and my because I was 18. I just left here from Ireland after doing the leaving cert and went over to work on building sites in London. So plenty of money. I was earning about 500 quid those days. Some days, some weeks anyway, which was big money back in 1990. Big enough for me anyway. And yeah, new to drink, new to the tubes and all that sort of stuff. We've been on them in passing on holidays, but new to the tubes and everything. But on another night, I don't think it was in Greenwich. It was probably whatever. If you've been in London, we might have been in the West End or something. It doesn't matter. We had to go back to Leighton where we lived anyway. And it was a good half an hour, 40 minutes, no matter where you are, right? A good 40 minutes. And yeah, you feel grand after leaving the pub, but you're getting on the train, it's stuffy, your fucking thing is fucking wobbling around and everything. And then me, a young fella, my system had adjusted to alcohol so much because I started drinking when I was 17, and not even that much, just pints here and there, but and then it's fucking shaking, and just one thing led to another. And I remember my aunt and my uncle were on the other side. And there was people standing there, and it was a big enough crowd. There were strangers on either side, and I started feeling unwell. And it was like one of those. What am I going to do? Where am I? What am I? It's like what am I going to do with the piss, right? But I'd rather go back and do that situation because the only thing my fucking dodo brain thought of was to lead over to my right and puke all over this lovely woman who was just sitting there next to me minding her own business on a packed train home. And she, oh, there was horror. You could slow down the moment. It was just, and I don't think it was like just a quick one as well. It was obviously I didn't excel in it. I didn't say, oh well, I'm after doing it, I better get it all out. No, I tried to stop it and resist it as much as I could. But I still got a good bit out all over. And it went all over top and down her pants. So I felt much better after it, as I remember. but I didn't know where to look. I tried to offer a little bit of help, and all I got was sort of grunts, And what can you do? What am I going? I have nothing to wipe anything off, and she tried to make do. I didn't know what to offer, and all I could do was sort of not even look at my aunt. My aunt and uncle sitting across the tube. They didn't know me. They just looked away. They didn't know me at all. But the worst part of it was, right? So I couldn't help there. There's nothing I could say because I hadn't spoken to the woman before. People all around, and I was clean as anything. There was nothing on me. It's fine. And I was feeling much better and everything, but fucking, I was feeling desperate inside then because there's nothing I could say. How do you start up a sort of? I never spoke to. How do you start up a conversation and like try to deal with this situation? And I couldn't think of anything. And I just sort of put a vague look on my face and pretended I didn't know. I didn't know how pretended I didn't know what was going on, even though I know exactly, and it was clear to everyone I knew exactly what was going on. So Stan Laurel sort of looked on my face. And the worst part was she kind of got cleaned up somewhat. As I said, I was bone dry. I was bone dry. Feeling much better as well. So inside I wanted to sing, like to tell the whole carriage how much better I'd feel. I didn't mind the bumpiness of the train, but then I was mortified because of the woman next to me. But the worst part, I just had to put a stupid look on my face and just not move around too much, but be aware for the rest of the 30-minute ride home. There was a lingering smell of my puke in the air, and you couldn't escape it. As I said, my aunt and uncle disowned me. On the train they did, but I'm walking home. What could you do? It was fucking hilarious. I never let that down. They probably forget it now, but they didn't let it down for a good while because that's the way it happened. Needless to say, we kept in touch. Myself, and God, the puke lady. The puke lady. Yeah, we keep in touch. We get together every sort of Christmas, and we overindulge sometimes. And I sometimes allow her to puke on me as some sort of cathartic therapy. That's a true story as well. Lots of true stories, but yeah. Listen, I'm going to leave it there. I'm sorry about. Listen. If you want to talk the next time, yeah, everything is out of order, Nora, and I have a great. This is a potentially great story regarding all of this nonsense here. When I read all that out, because from the very outset they're in the wrong, and now they have to falsify statements. So my next step regarding the cops is, well, I've been up there and got a sort of a feel, and yeah, stupid that they're going to take it further when they're not even going to question the basic story when it's opposed. But I have a few outlets. I'd be probably considering pressing personal charges against the officers in question for false imprisonment and making false statements. So I'll see what they'll do, because I know that there's different laws in play now, you see. And I know that since 2013, where all sort of protection, insurance protection, is removed from public servants. So if now you commit a crime or go outside the bounds of the powers granted you, well, now you're liable personally. So again, 4 people and more on notice, 10,000 euros for every hour of my illegally, unlawful, immoral incarceration, and 150 hours, that is. So that's 6 million. Anyway. Yeah, okay, I'm a good servant. How you doing, bud? I haven't seen you in ages, man, and I didn't go into chat too much, so I'm sorry about that. Open chat, you had a good chat yourselves. I think sometimes that's where the good conversation lies. Most shows are on repeat these days, but yeah. Once again, okay. Okay, while I put this on screen for you to consider, I'll hopefully get away with it's pretty late now, but I might get away. And if I don't, if I stop suddenly, I'm after getting a roar from next door. So I'll put this back on screen and share screen and put this back on screen and let you consider it while I'm singing this song and singing you out. So share screen. Oh yeah, stop sharing now. Wasn't that some story, wasn't that? Honest to God. It was better than the peeing story, Nora. The puking story. Fucking hell, man. Longest half an hour ride of my life. That's how you can't escape it as well. You can't escape it mentally and you can't escape it physically. You can smell a gawk in the air. Lingering gawk. You know what I did? I think all I could do was just push it by the chair. I don't have to wipe it up. Push it by the underside of the seat. Just piled up underneath my own feet. That's the least I could do. I considered asking her next door, would it be okay if I pushed his puke underneath you? We're already puked up anyway. Okay. Let me put this on screen. Just for you to consider again as a parting thing. Yeah, so remember, coming in on the right with the ball right here, moving downwards and following instructions. So we need to look for the most appropriate symbol which allows us to start the game, and we need to keep the arrows in mind, keep it simple. So I'll let you consider that while So let me say, I got a great idea for a story, a possible story earlier on from somebody based on, all credit due, based on the idea that William Kalaki, who I was accused of being because one of the sergeants, Mick Lamb, Mick Lamb said, you remind me of William Kalaki. So yeah, I was put in prison and they pretty much all knew about me. So yeah, in some alternative aspect, William Kalaki gets caught up in it because one of the cops or one of the prison guards or something who went through all this trouble with this William fucking Kalaki, King of Era, Corona's a hoax guy who won't give his name, all of that, and it gets the real William Kalaki into deep shit and it affects his life ultimately, and he never has a clue why, so he tries to find out ultimately how it all turned so sour. He traces it back to the original story. It's a brilliant story in that. Say thanks for tuning in tonight, and I met my brother Andrew today, and it wasn't quite tears, but there was big hugs, and Randy's looking great with him. Andrew's looking great himself. He's making concerted effort to lose weight, and he's doing well. He's looking well, and it was great to see him. And I was also talking to someone else today as well, a few other people as well, but someone else in specifics really very sort of special. So yeah, very good day, and I'm going to leave you with this sound. I'm going to try and keep it as soft as possible. And hopefully get away with it. So let's see how we do. If I picture things 1,000 words, then why can't I paint you? These words will never show you I've come to know. If a face could launch 1,000 ships, then where am I to go? There is no home but you. Oh, what's left to return? And when our life is running dry, you come and pour yourself on me. If a man could be two places at one time, I'd be with you. Tomorrow and today, beside you. If the world should stop revolving slowly, slowing down to die, I'd spend the end with you. And when the road is through, I won't start over. You and I would simply fly. Good night, my dear friends. I love to all. I love you, my Steve.